23-year-old printer Rolanda Davis says she loaned her car to neighbor Rhonda Davis, and it came back damaged. Rhonda claims in her countersuit she owes her money for a missing gold ring.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 240 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Davis. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
I'm going to try to make this rather complicated case as simple as I can. You are not related to each other, even though you have the same last name.
No.
You are neighbors.
Yes.
She borrowed your car.
Yes, she did.
And it was involved in some sort of a traffic accident, and it was damaged.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And you want her to pay for the damage to the car.
Yes, I do.
She says that while you were babysitting for her, jewelry was stolen from her house. So she's countersuing you for the jewelry. She said, therefore, she doesn't have to pay for the car. Is that this case?
Yes, it is.
So at least we have one thing that's a given. You damaged her car.
Yes.
Now, in what month, date and month, did you damage her car? And you don't know this right off the top?
July 12th, Your Honor.
No, I don't. July 12th is when you borrowed the car.
Yes.
How was it damaged? Tell me.
I was damaged on the on the driver's door.
And how did you do that?
I didn't do it. A car hit her car while I was parked.
So she says, Your Honor.
Whatever. You weren't there.
Right.
But it was damaged while it was in your control.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's not covered by insurance.
No, it's not.
Why did you let her borrow your car?
Because she asked me if she can borrow my car to go to the grocery store.
That's not true.
And I said, do you have a driver's license? And she said yes. And I let her drive my car. When she left, my car was a brand new car.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
She's acknowledging
Okay.
that the car was damaged
And-
while it was under her control. Did you have a driver's license?
No, I did not.
Why? Why did you use her car without having a driver's license?
She sent her daughter to come get me, to go to Lucky's, to go get some milk and cereal for her daughter because she was sick.
Your Honor.
I did her a favor.
Your Honor. She asked me to use my car. The first question I asked her, before I even answered her, was, do you have a driver's license?
That's not true.
She said yes.
Shh. Just a second. Did you have insurance?
No, I didn't.
Why not?
Well, I had got the car in May, and I moved in June. I guess my insurance papers, from what the car dealership told me, went to my old address. Being that I didn't get them in time, they pinned it because I only had it a month after I got my car.
They're all, so far, you both sound very responsible. No insurance, no driver's license. It's a perfect match.
Okay.
All right. Now, when allegedly was this jewelry stolen and how? What month?
It was stolen August 23rd.
All right. 8/23. Now, between July 12th, when the car was damaged, and August 23rd, why didn't you pay her for the damage?
Because, for one thing, when after the accident had happened, okay, I came straight to Rolanda, and I said, Rolanda, someone had hit your car. We came out, we looked at the car. She said, Rhonda, don't worry about it. It's not that much damage. It could have happened to me if I'd have had your car. She said, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Come on now.
Shh, shh.
All right.
And so?
That was it, okay? August 23rd was my birthday. We needed a babysitter.
Just a minute. So are you telling me that between July 12th, when our car was damaged, and August 23rd, there was no other discussion about paying for the car?
None. None.
Okay. You say there was?
Yes, there was.
When was there?
When she came back, when she pulled back into the parking lot, and I came outside and seen my car, and I'm just shaking my head, and she was like, Rolanda, I'm going to help you fix your car. She said she's been knowing people who can fix my car, Your Honor. She said she's been knowing people, and I'll come to her door, I'll ask her sometime, I'll be like, have you talked to someone?
No,
and she'll be like, yeah, I know somebody who will fix the car.
Okay.
You know, and then she got mad one night and was like, I'm not going to fix your car.
Who are you?
I'm her witness and roommate. We live together. When she was at the store, I was at Rolanda's house sitting, waiting for her because the store is not very far from where we stay at. Okay. When she came back, all three of us walked out where the car is parked at in front of our apartment building, and we looked at the car. You know, I was looking like, where's the dent, you know? And it was very small, like maybe if someone opened their door and maybe hit the car or something like that. That's what it looked like. To me, it wasn't major
I'm
at
going
all.
to see pictures of it. I assume the pictures are
It
here.
wasn't
Yes, I
major
do
at all.
have my
So-
pictures to prove that they're
mercy.
not little itty bitty dents.
I have pictures
I have
too.
some. I have some damages that.
Just a shut.
Okay.
That's certainly not an itty bitty dent.
No, and that wasn't the dent that was in that car. Neither. Her car had been hit 3 times since that accident.
Well, when did you take pictures of it?
Maybe about 2 weeks ago when I knew that she was following this.
Just a second. 2 weeks ago this happened? 3
July
months
the
ago.
12th, Your Honor.
Yes, but
My case
I didn't know
is
she was going to file no suit against me or anything like this.
When were these pictures taken?
Those pictures were taken 3 days ago.
3 days ago?
3 days
See?
ago.
Not
See?
interested in these pictures?
Well,
I
have
want to
an
see the estimate
Okay. I have
right
an
after
estimate, Your
July
Honor.
12th.
I have an estimate, Your Honor, proving how much my driver's door does not open. My window is broken.
That window was in that car.
It has been rain in my car. The door. I mean, it's rain. It's mildew stains inside of my car.
Your husband
Just a
broke the
minute.
window.
Hey! This damage report is 2.5 months after this incident.
Yes. Okay. Your Honor, I'm telling the guys all the truth. She damaged my car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You copped an attitude, which I have a feeling you can do very easily, and you said, I'm not doing that.
And later today,
Whoever made the decision that this was not going to be a long-term relationship, whether it was you or whether it was him, whoever it was, you're very lucky.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rolanda Davis says after she loaned her car to her neighbor, 36-year-old Rhonda Davis, she returned it with extensive damage. Rhonda admits the car was wrecked, but says Rolanda stole a gold ring from her home, making them even.
She acknowledges she damaged your car. You do not have an estimate within a day, a two, a week after the accident.
Right.
$1,500 is practically what they charge just to look at a car. One of these car doctors,
Thank
you know,
you.
they come out in a
Thank
white
you.
coat and they look at it, you know, the looking costs $1,500. So we're not talking about a lot of money. The damage that you caused to the car was at least probably $1,500.
Yes.
If they have to pull it out, they have to repaint it, they have to buff it out. You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so $1,500 she's entitled to for the car. Now, you have to prove to me that she took your jewelry. Prove it.
Only way that I can prove it is that when we got ready to leave, okay, when I got to the club, okay, Jocelyn noticed that my jewelry was gone. What I did, I immediately got on the phone. I called Rolanda. I said, I dialed my number. Rolanda answered my phone. She said, hello. I said, Rolanda, this is Rhonda. First thing I said, how's the kids? She said, everything okay? I said, Rolanda, I left my rings on top of the TV. Can you please go get them for the kids won't mess with them? She said, okay. I said, I'm going to hold on until you do this, okay? I was holding on the phone. Whether Rolanda went in my room to check to see was the rings there or not, I was holding on. She came back to the phone. She said, okay, I got them. I said, okay, everything's okay? She said, yes. I hung up the phone. When I returned home, I say approximately maybe about 2:30, close to 2:45. Immediately as I walked in my door, I seen my table, the glass was broke, okay? Then Rolanda said, the window in the room is broke. I said, the room window. So I goes in the room and I pulls the curtain back. The whole window is busted out, okay? A family heirloom that I had from my grandmother that's passed, that was broke, okay? My rings was missing, all in one night.
Okay, what happened?
She called, and she did tell me that her ring was somewhere in her room. She did say that she would hold while I go in the room. I did not go in that room because I didn't want to be responsible for nothing coming up
Just a
missing.
second.
Okay.
Stop you right there.
All right.
She called. She said, I'll hold on.
I sat the phone
Just a
down.
second.
Okay.
She said, I'll hold on while you go inside and get my rings because I don't
Okay.
want the kids. That's what
Right.
she said to you.
Right.
And you did what?
And I sat the phone down and sat there. I did not come back and reply to her, I got them.
Yes, you did.
Oh, sure you did.
Yes, you did. That's what the reason
Sure
I
you
was
did.
holding on.
Oh,
No.
hey.
That's why I was, oh, excuse me.
No.
Excuse
Hey,
me.
oh, sure you did.
She is
Excuse
lying.
me.
No, I did not. My
Yeah,
mother is right here.
Let me tell you why you did. Let me tell you why you did. Because it doesn't make sense. It's not logical for you to have then walked back and said, I don't have the rings. I'm sorry. You put the phone down. You said, gonna wait a couple of minutes. You picked the phone up. You said, got him.
I didn't say got him.
What did you say?
I told her I was not going in her room because I wasn't going to be responsible.
No,
you
you
That's
didn't.
what I said.
Oh,
No, you didn't.
please,
I didn't
give me a
leave
break.
out that living room.
Give.
Your Honor,
You got
that
my
is
rings.
the truth. I didn't leave out the living room.
Oh, I believe it.
I stayed
How you
right
know the
next door
bedroom
to
window
her.
was
Listen
broke?
to me. Listen to me.
Okay.
Either way,
Okay.
you're responsible. She's absolutely right. Either way, you're responsible. She called you.
That's what I
You were
did.
babysitting for her children. She said, I left my rings. Please go inside and secure them. Instead of doing that, you copped an attitude, which I have a feeling you can do very easily, and you said, I'm not doing that. You took the phone, put it down, waited a minute, picked it up and said, I got him.
That's what she did.
No, I didn't, Your Honor.
Sure you did. Tell me what rings were missing.
This is the rings right here. I have the things from the rings and everything. They're not even finished paying for. Here's everything for the rings. It's
I
the
never
ones that's
entered a room at all.
That's
That's your problem.
circled.
Then you lied.
Here's
No,
my
I didn't.
stuff.
Oh,
for
sure you
my-
did.
For my table.
Oh, sure you
didn't-
did.
I got the
How?
window fixed, but not the table.
How,
but
Your
this
Honor?
is
How did you lie?
Yes.
You lied because you told her I got the rings.
No,
Here
I
we go,
didn't.
right
I
Oh, I
never
believe you
told her
did.
that.
Listen, I may be wrong. I was wrong once in 1950. I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
But I'm sure I was wrong
And this
once in
day,
1950.
too, Your Honor, because I didn't say
Be
that to her.
quiet.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
You are so full of baloney.
Am I?
You are so full of baloney. But you're a very quick thinker.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
This case is going to turn out to be a wash, you know. Because I believe that you should have paid for the car, for the damage to the car. I believe that's true. And I believe Miss Attitude over here decided that she was tired of asking you to pay for the car and made things sort of even. Your lawsuit is dismissed. Your countersuit is dismissed because they're just for about the same amount of money. The loss of the rings, the damage to her car, it's a wash.
with me.
That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Penda versus Crane. Step forward, please.
55-year-old engineering assistant Dee Pender says she bought a computer for 43-year-old Robert Crane while the two were dating. Robert claims he knows nothing about it.
While you and the defendant were dating, you claimed that you bought a computer for him. He agreed to pay you for the computer. Stop dating. And he hasn't paid you for the computer.
Right.
That's simple?
Right.
He says he doesn't know what you're talking about. You never bought him a computer. He doesn't know about a computer. Is that right?
Correct.
Interesting. So, how long were you dating before you bought him this computer, and tell me why you did in the first place?
Probably about 4 months I was dating him, and he was over that night, and we had talked about that I might get a computer. And I was on the phone, and he came in, and he says, "Oh, you're ordering a computer?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Do you think I could get one too?" And I said, "Well, I'll ask." So I asked, and she said, "You can buy as many as you want."
Well, where were you ordering these from?
Through my company that I work for.
Were you getting a good deal on them?
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Yes, uh-huh.
Go ahead.
They offered them to the employees only. And she said, yes, I could get as many as I wanted. I said, okay. He says, well, put it on your charge for me, and I'll pay you back next month. Fact is, he says, I'll pay the whole bill off. And I went, shh, wait till I'm done. So I finished ordering 2 computers and got off the phone. He says, yeah, he says, I'll pay the whole bill off. Everything on your bill I'll pay off. Yours and mine and anything else that's on there. He said, I make plenty of money. He said, no problem. And I said, no, you pay what you owe me, I pay my own bills.
How much was the computer that you bought for him?
In the end, by the time we got the everything on there was $1,943.55. That's what it finally came to.
Okay.
So he comes over and he says, I make $15,000 a month. Here's my check stub. I'll show you. And I looked and I went, whoa. And he says, yeah, I make plenty of money. Don't worry, I'll pay the whole thing. I said, no, just pay your bill. That's all I want. And so the bill came in, and he says, well, the next month, he says, I'm a little short of cash. Can I just make the payment this time? He said, actually, I'll pay it when my tax check comes in. He said, that'll be in the next week. And I said, okay. I said, you know, pay $100 on this. Okay. So
Did he give you $100?
Yes. Yes, he paid me $100.
Well, let me ask you this question. Have the computers been delivered?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They were delivered the next month.
Did you talk to him about his computer?
Oh, yeah. He said, yeah, he liked it. He thought it was great.
What kind was it?
A Micron? Micron, I believe. Here it is right here.
Okay. And which credit card did you put it on?
My Citibank Visa.
Okay.
There's a little note here that he left tagged on my car after he moved out in the middle of the night in his handwriting saying, I will pay you. He put this on my car. I put the date up there of the day he left it on my car.
Let me have it, please. Yes. I'm listening.
Yes, ma'am. As far as this computer, she'd called me and said she purchased a computer. And as far as another computer, I know nothing about it. I was very shocked on this lawsuit that she served me. I was very shocked. I was very shocked. And thing I did, I finally had to move because all she did was call me every night. She wanted to pursue this relationship. Hey, I didn't want to hear anything else about it. So I finally had to move because we lived in the same complex. I did not need to hear any more of this from her.
If you can't be quiet, you have to leave. Do you understand?
So the only thing I can see is she's very distressed that she couldn't pursue this relationship.
So you think she bought these two computers that are clearly on her bill for somebody else, or maybe she just wanted two computers for herself?
Possibly. As far as that, the only thing I knew, she called me up, she said, oh, I bought a computer. Oh, you did? Okay, fine.
If there would be a copy of a check that you gave her for $100, what would that be for?
It would be for some stamps that I purchased from her for a mail order business that she was going into, that I paid her for.
You are so full of baloney.
Am I?
You are so full of baloney. But you're a very quick thinker.
I'm not full of
You're
baloney.
a very quick thinker. I don't have a check for $100, a copy of a check.
But still,
I just wanted to figure out, to see what your answer would be.
Sure.
If you thought I had a copy of the check.
That's what it would have been for.
Oh, God. Must be smoking something real good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
$1,943.55 is what your Visa bill shows. Does very fancy footwork, Ms. Pender. You're very lucky that whoever made the decision that this was not going to be a long-term relationship, whether it was you or whether it was him, whoever it was, you're very lucky.
Yes.
Earth to Mr. Crane. You can't pull the wool over everybody's eyes all the time, sir.
I'm sorry.
What were the interest charges since this purchase was made? His interest charges, we're going to give him credit for the $100, even though he now says it's for stamps.
And also lost wages because same time he moved, his company moved. And it took me 2 days to find out where they were.
You're going to, listen, you're going to chalk that up to experience.
Okay.
All I want to know is the interest. It's $320.
She had a business card all along.
$21.63, right?
She got there.
That's what I got there. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,163.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm the daughter, and I know the whole story. And I'll tell you, when you're born to lie and you do it well, you can get through life, and he is proof of that.
No. Yeah, they're just ganging up on me. That's why I'm by myself. So, hey.
father, Bob Thompson, for refusing to pay for her high school ring.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Now, this is case number 384 on the calendar in the matter of Thompson versus Thompson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please, ma'am.
Excuse me, are you her mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you step up here, please? This is your mom?
Yes.
That's your dad?
Yes.
And you are suing your father because you say that he owes you a class ring.
Yes.
So let me understand this. How long are your parents divorced?
I believe since I was 5.
And how old are you now?
18.
And for most of that time, you lived with your mother.
Yes.
But there came a time when you left your mother's house
Yes.
to go and live with your father. How old were you?
17.
Why did she leave?
We had an argument.
Not just one, I assume.
Oh, typical mother-daughter, clean your room, do what I ask you to do kind of arguments.
But they must have escalated into more than that for her to, I assume, call your father and say, can I come and live with you?
Yeah.
So?
It was that, and I checked into the school out there, and they had a production class that I was looking at. That looked real promising.
No. You had it with your mother, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I assume, Miss Mason, that you had at that point had it with your daughter?
Yes.
Now, were you in favor of her going to live with her father?
No, I thought that was a bad decision.
So you get this call, sir,
Yes.
from your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the call.
She was very panicked. She was upset with things that was going on in the house there. She had stated that on numerous occasions she was told to stay home from school to take care of her youngest sister. She said that she was sick and tired of living in the house. She was sharing a room with her aunt. Her aunt had been there for a long period of time, and she had 2 children who were living in the same room as Jessica. Jessica was tired of that. Her aunt was getting up in the middle of the night, screaming at the children, cussing at them, and she was just tired of it. And she wanted a better way of life. She thought that she can get it in Memphis, which we promised that, you know, if you want to come out here, we will do the best we can for you.
Okay. Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, sir, that that was your first mistake. Because I assume that the first thing you didn't do, don't have that look of incredulity on your face. Teenagers in this kind of situation always lie. Because they got 2 parents who live far away from each other and who don't communicate. So the first thing you should have done was pick up the phone and call your former wife.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
In hindsight, that was the right thing to do. Because when your daughter got to your house, everything was okay for a while, right?
Yes, it was.
But then after a while, it wasn't okay. Tell me why it wasn't okay.
Well, after quite a few months went by, things were very good. She got enrolled in school, she was making friends, she got involved in church programs and things of that nature, made friends through the church. Things are going great. Long about December, my father was very ill in the hospital. After about the 4th week of his hospitalization, my wife Rhonda and Jessica and I flew out to California here to be with my father in his final days. During that time, Jessica said that she did not wish to confront her mother, did not want to cross paths with her. And we said, you know, it's whatever you want to do, but, you know, we can't guarantee that that will not happen because my youngest daughter would more likely be at the hospital, be with her grandfather.
So you have 2 children?
Yes, I do.
With your former wife?
Right.
Are you in touch with your younger daughter?
Yes.
Do you see her?
It's been a while since I have seen her.
How old is she?
She's 14 years old.
Okay. So you came out to California to be with your dad, and they crossed paths.
Right. Actually, what happened, Jessica had the urge to see her youngest half-sister, and we set up a meeting 2 days after my dad passed away, and they met in the Northridge Mall. It was going to be for a period of 3 hours. You know, we agreed to it. We said, okay, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. We're not going to stop you. Even though her mother had a notarized letter saying she disowned her daughter completely. Afterwards, we found out that, according to Jessica, she was forced to write in a letter in the furniture department of JCPenney saying that there was items that she did not want sent back to Memphis. Previous to this, we were trying to get her belongings sent out here to us. Her mother at that time said that her belongings were turned over to other family members and Jessica was not entitled to it till she was 18 years old.
Yeah, according to your paper, sir, to make a long story short, first there was a custody battle that you had.
Right.
With your former wife.
Yes.
And you retained counsel for that, and it was a costly process.
Right.
And that custody battle was ultimately resolved with your daughter living with you.
Right.
Now, you say you had a notarized letter from her mother saying she totally disowned her.
That's correct.
Did you write that letter?
I gave up custody till she was 18, yes.
Does anybody have a copy of that letter?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. I mean, if you say you gave up custody, but that was not before there was a custody battle that was waging between two jurisdictions. Is that right?
Right.
This is from an attorney, and this is a letter from you indicating that you, biological mother of Jessica Ann Thompson, relinquish all my court-appointed rights to Jessica, including physical custody and visitation, until her 18th birthday.
Right.
So you must have been really angry with her at that point.
I was. I was very, very angry.
Absolutely. All right. Now, you were so angry that when she wanted her property back, you said no. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Which forced you, sir,
yes,
to start litigation to get her property back.
At Jessica's request.
Okay, so you got a lawyer for that.
Right.
That cost you money.
Exactly.
And then she goes to the mall, meets her mom, and then signs, according to you, in the furniture department of JCPenney, a letter saying, I don't want my belongings back.
That's correct.
And you had already paid your lawyer for that,
yes,
et cetera. All right, so things started to get not so good.
Right.
But this didn't have to do so much with the belongings. You felt as if she was manipulating.
Yes.
Which is what she had been doing from the beginning, Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You didn't give them back, right?
No, I did not.
Why? Because you were angry.
I was angry.
Right. And these were her things.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Thompson moved from her mother's home to her dad's. When she fought with Bob Thompson's new wife, she says he reneged on a promise to buy her her high school ring.
During this time, some point, she was going to graduate from high school and needed money for a class ring.
Yes.
And the book and everything else, which is what all this is about. And you gave her how much?
We offered $300 to assist to getting the ring and the graduation announcements for the high school in Memphis that she was going to graduate from.
But then there was a big brouhaha in your house.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Okay. Following the initial meeting that she had with her mom, Jessica's attitude started changing. It wasn't a drastic change, but it was noticeable. But we were able to deal with it. In February, she bought the CD from a group. It was a group called Cake.
Cake?
Yes. What it stands for, I have no idea. But there was a song in there that she apparently thought that was a good song to listen to. Well, in our house, we do not allow music of this nature because of the language that's in there, the four-letter words, what they imply, the implications that come out of the music. When Jessica bought the CD, the little girl across the street had gone to the record store with her to get it. In our car, we have a CD player. Jessica put the CD in and played that particular song twice on the way home, according to the little girl across the street. Now, the little girl across the street, she's very religious, comes from a religious family and a strong background. So it was pretty offending to her, but she was also told by Jessica not to say anything about it.
Anyway, it started out with the CD with this group. Things got bad in your house, Mr. Thompson.
Yes. This is leading up to it.
Get to it.
Okay,
I mean, I've had teenage girls.
Okay. Well, because of the line that Jessica had told us about the CD and denying the entire incident, we felt it was best to put her on restriction. We told her she cannot do any after-school activities with her friends for a week. She was not allowed to speak on the phone after 8 o'clock at night for a week. And we felt this was reasonable punishment for a week's period.
Okay, because she lied to you.
Right.
Okay.
Well, she took very much offense to it.
Rules.
Rules, exactly.
And she broke the rules according to this.
Yes.
And then there was an explosion in your house
That's
with
correct.
your wife.
Right.
According to what I read here. Tell me about that explosion with your wife.
Okay. Jessica...
Why don't you step up here? Your name is?
Rhonda.
Tell me your version of the explosion that happened in the house, Jessica.
Well, I had gotten home from school to eat lunch and then go back up to the school because we had the play production rehearsal that night. And I was told by Rhonda that I was grounded, and I was told by my dad that I wasn't. So I was getting two sides of the story. So Rhonda came home early from work, and as I went to leave the house, she stepped in my way and wouldn't let me out the door. She grabbed me both by my arms right here, and she turned me around and she threw me against the wall. And then as I tried to move away, she pushed me back against the corner of the china cabinet. And then she finally sat me down in a chair and put her knee on me and then called my dad.
Rhonda, let's hear.
After I found out that Jessica wanted to go home, back to LA, I came home to talk to her about it, to find out if that's really what she wanted to do, or was she just wanted to go home because she didn't like the restriction, the rules, that we had set forth. In the course of the conversation, she goes, "I'm not talking to you. I'm leaving." I said, "No, you're not either. You need to stay here and we need to talk about it." And at the time, her dad was still at work, and he knew that I was coming home to talk to her. And when she tried to leave, I did stop her from leaving. I called her dad, and I said, "You need to come home now. We need to talk about this." And that's what I did.
How did you stop her?
I did put her in a chair, and I said, "You will sit there till I get your dad on the phone, and you can talk to him." We got him on the phone. She talked to him. She even told him, "I'm not staying here. I'm leaving." And he said, "No, you need to stay there till I get home." And she did.
She stayed?
Mm-hmm.
And when he came home, what was the discussion, sir?
I was trying to get both sides of the story to figure out what all went on. Jessica did appear to be very unruly. Rhonda said that she was swearing, saying that she was leaving, she was running away, she was going to take the car. It seemed to get way out of hand.
Okay, now, so it all got out of hand. Bottom line is, you ultimately canceled the ring.
That's correct.
And you canceled the ring, why?
Because of what went on in the past, and that I did not feel that Jessica deserved the ring for what she went through. When I grew up, I was told whatever I got, I earned it. We all earn what we get in life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I didn't feel Jessica had deserved the ring, particularly from a school that she wasn't going to graduate from.
She was fine until the time she found out it was canceled, and she just demanded that we owed her.
We have a letter here stating everything that she wanted, that we owe her, and how, as a 17-year-old, it's okay to do whatever she did. It's clearly stated in this letter.
She disowned him. She said, "You're not my dad anymore."
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
What he gave her was nothing, a parent who wasn't there and a stepmother who was abusive.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jessica Thompson wants her father, Bob Thompson, to pay for her high school ring and to return her possessions.
Mr. Thompson, how much did your legal fees cost you?
All total, it was close to $3,000.
Mm-hmm. Did you have legal fees?
No.
Can I say one other thing?
Sure.
In the course of everything that was going on, and she was packing her stuff up and everything, we also found a letter in her room addressed to us from our attorneys from the last court hearing in February that Jessica had gotten out of the mailbox because she didn't want us to know what was in there. Up until the time we went to court in February, she kept saying, "I want my stuff, I want my stuff, I want my stuff." And in turn, she has called her mother and said, no, I want to come back home. And it's presented in court, and it's in this letter that she steals out of the mailbox.
You two people made a mistake. And your initial mistake was that you forgot the fact that the two of you are the grown-ups, she's the child, and that you have a responsibility, despite the fact that you haven't been together for years, to have a united front with regard to a 17-year-old who doesn't like to live with rules. Because that's why she left your house, and that's why she left your house. Because she didn't like the rules. It cost you a lot of money, it probably cost you a lot of aggravation. Right?
Right.
Because you have to know that just as she probably told you some tall tales about what happened in their house, which caused her to want to leave, she told them a lot of tall tales about what was going on in your house, which caused her to want to leave.
But when I tried to call their house when she was back there to speak to Bob, they would never let me talk to her
She
or
never called
him.
the house.
There was a phone in Jessica's room that she had.
Listen, your daughter is 17 years old, madam. Right?
Well, you're
She's 17 years old. You signed a piece of paper really disowning her. Not only custody, but said visitation, which is really no contact because you were angry. You've got to act like the grown-ups. In any event, I don't see that your father owes you a darn thing. Nothing. You didn't graduate from that high school. You graduated from a high school in California, correct? Right?
Yes.
So I don't see that that ring has any sentimental value, aside from the fact that he's your father. That's a rule. He makes the rules. You're living with him? He said, as long as you're living with me and graduating from the school, I think you should have a ring. Here's the budget for the ring. It's $300. You didn't graduate from the school. You picked up, you left. Why should he give you anything? Why? You caused both of these people a lot of aggravation. Your mother and your father. You want to say that she didn't cause you aggravation? Were you going to say that to me? Were you going to say to me?
No, she calls me aggravation.
Absolutely.
But the ring, on the other hand, he said it was a gift, the $300.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're still not following, madam.
Well, he didn't
You're still
tell me
not
he
following,
canceled it.
madam. You shouldn't be on her side. The two of you should be together so that she knows she has a mother and a father who are both people of goodwill, both responsible, but who aren't battling with each other.
You can't battle with somebody who won't speak to
Why
you.
didn't you give her back her things?
She didn't want them.
No, yes, you did.
No, she didn't.
No,
She wanted
listen to
certain
me.
items.
That's not true.
She wanted certain items.
That's not
That is
true.
true.
She wanted certain things.
Right.
But she
And
made
you
out a list.
and you didn't give them back to her. You didn't give them back, right?
No, I did not.
Why? Because you were angry.
I was angry.
Right. And these were her things. You made him initially get a lawyer, go to court, and sue over the things that were, according to you, hers, because you were
Angry.
angry. So is he. So is he. He's angry that he spent $3,000 because he got stories from his daughter about how she was being abused and mistreated in your house. He brought her to his house, and within a relatively short period of time, she was being abused and mistreated in his house. She wants to go back to your house. Don't you see any similarity between the things that you wouldn't give back to her and the ring that he wouldn't give her?
No.
No? You're wrong. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Well, these are excused. You may step out. I'll be back with you right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Yes, she's part of the family.
No, she's
Okay,
not.
listen.
She
Okay?
never has been.
As far as I'm concerned,
Listen.
you aren't either. No, I'm not listening to you.
Then
Okay.
obviously you have no respect for your dad.
I don't anymore.
You can hate me all you want, okay? One thing is very clear. I'm your father.
I don't want to. I don't want to have anything to do with them.
It hurts. There's no doubt about it. You know, I've always been there for Jessica.
41-year-old Gina Stake says she loaned her car to her 19-year-old son, Paul, who got drunk with Jamal, the 19-year-old son of Queenie Martin. Jamal wrecked the car, and Gina says, Queenie should pay for the damage.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 229 on the calendar in the matter of Stake versus Martin. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Have a seat.
Oh, no. Come up here, gentlemen. This is your son, Mrs. Stake.
Yes, it is.
And Miss Martin, this is your son.
Yes, it is.
How lovely for you both. Miss Stake, you had a rental car. You let your son drive the car. He was with his friends. My reading of these papers suggests to me that both of these idiots got drunk. He drove the car right into a pole. Right?
Correct.
You think his mom, because he's a minor, should pay for the damage to the car.
Correct.
His mom says that you know your son drinks and you shouldn't have given him the car. That's your position.
That's correct.
So that you are not responsible for the damage.
Right.
Before I ask you two ladies to sit down, I'd like just for you to give me the bills for the car, and then I'm going to deal with the young men.
This is
So the amount that you had to pay was $5,878.43.
That's the balance of it. My insurance paid $4,900.
But this is just the balance.
Correct.
Why don't you two ladies have a seat for a moment? I'll ask you to come back in a moment. Your first name is what, sir?
Paul.
Paul. And yours?
Jamal.
Now, Paul, tell me about how your mother, it came about that you asked your mother to borrow the car for the evening.
Well, it was, we all wanted to go out. He called me up. He said, what's up on the night? And I said, nothing, and got this rental car, and, you know, he wanted to go kick it. So I was like, all right, fine. You know, I told him I had no money. He said, come on now, this is Jamal.
Could you keep your voice up and try to speak slowly?
Oh, okay. He was like, come on now, this is Jamal. So I was like, all right. So he wanted to get drunk. Well, we all wanted to get drunk. So he went and bought the drink. Then after a while, we went to my...
Just a minute. So you went to your mother, and you said to your mother what?
Well, actually, she already gave me the car. She already let me use the car.
That day?
Yeah. But
What did she say when she gave you the car?
She was like, be careful. And I said, okay.
That sounds right. You said, be careful?
Yes.
So right after your mother said, be careful, you and this genius over here decided to use the car and to go and get some booze and drink, right?
Right.
And where did you decide to do that?
At my sister's house.
Your sister's house? How old is your sister?
Well, she is about 19 now.
So you decided to go to your 19-year-old sister's house with Jamal over here and how many other people?
Just one more person, my best friend.
Now, were you drinking before you got to your sister's house? Is not an answer in court.
No.
No is an answer. So what happened at your sister's house?
Well, I said, let's leave, you know, because he got into an argument with my sister and everybody else in the house. So I said, you know, let's leave. But by that time we decided to leave, we was already toe up. We were already drunk.
What was the word he used first? Toe up.
Toe up.
Okay, go ahead.
And so, you know, I was too intoxicated to drive, but I still said, let's go. But I wasn't going to leave just right away after I said, let's go. I was going to stay there and wait until I got sobered up. But he was like, no, you too drunk. He tried to take the keys from me. I was struggling with him because I was going to throw them to my best friend across the street. But he already got the keys from me because I was too intoxicated to hold on to the keys. But I still remember that. And after that, he just got into the car. I don't remember how I got into the car. That's the only thing I don't remember. But we got into it.
If you don't remember how you got into the car, you must have been 3 sheets to the wind. Did you ever hear that expression? 3 sheets to the wind?
Nah, no.
Nah.
So...
No, toe up, you know. Go ahead. So now you're in a car. You don't know how you got there because you were...
Toe up.
Drunk as a skunk. right?
Yes.
What do you remember next, Paul?
All I remember is you know, I hear the car going, and next thing I know, I hear him and my best friend in the back arguing, telling him to slow down. And I did wake up and say, slow down, and then I went back.
That you remember. You don't know how you got into the car, but you remember saying, slow down.
I do remember that.
Okay. And the next thing you know, you were dancing with a pole.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They're two idiots.
I agree with that. And the mother is an idiot as well.
Excuse me?
And later today,
Just a second. A bunch of guys went fishing to celebrate his wife being pregnant?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gina Stake is suing Jamal Martin's mother, Queenie, because Jamal wrecked her car. Queenie says she's not responsible, claiming Jamal only drove the car because Gina's son Paul was too drunk to drive.
Jamal!
Yes.
Let's hear from you.
Okay. On September 13th, I called him and asked him.
Let's do this. You were in his sister's house drinking.
We were outside drinking.
I stand corrected. You were outside drinking.
Mm-hmm.
What were you drinking?
A bottle of Tanqueray.
Tanqueray. That's
Yes.
vodka?
Gin.
Gin. Thank you.
Water.
All right, so you all get towed up. Tow up?
Toe up.
Tow up. You all get tow up, and you got into the car.
Yes.
And what happened?
While we were outside, I was talking to a friend, and I heard some yelling. When I turned around, Paul and his friend Jacoby were arguing about who was going to drive home. Now, I already knew that Paul had passed out, so I walked over to him and told him to give me the keys. There was an incident months before where he had gotten drunk, and I had drove him home before, and his mother had thanked me for it the next day.
Were you drunk
No.
then?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, but you were drunk that evening.
Yes, I was.
So you
I
got
was-
behind the car, the wheel of the car,
Yes,
drunk,
yes,
and hit a pole,
yes,
and totaled the car.
yes.
How old are you?
19.
How old are you?
18.
You go to school?
Yes.
You work after school?
No, not anymore.
Why?
Well, they had to let me go because I had to rephase a class. And
You had to what?
Rephase a class. That's taking the class over.
Why?
Because it was hard and I didn't understand it, so I had to take it over.
What about you?
No, I'm working right now.
Oh, good. That's good.
Thank you.
Now I'll have the mothers back. Consider yourselves both really lucky. I assume you do. You look like two absolutely lovely women.
Thank you.
Lovely, responsible women who really shouldn't be here today because they're too big to beat, for want of a better word. So you got to beat them financially in order to teach them a lesson, both of them. Because I agree with you that this young man is partially responsible for this bill. So is he. You agree?
I agree.
He had no business getting behind the wheel of a car.
That's true.
So he's got to pay.
I also agree, however, though, that Miss Stake is also at fault.
If she knew that her son had driven before drunk,
Right.
and she was hoping it would not recur, is that right?
I agree.
Then she's partially responsible. He's going to pay half of this bill.
And what portion is Miss Stake going to pay?
Oh, that half. That half, because it's going to take him a long time collecting cans or doing whatever he does to come up with $2,800, $2,900,
Okay.
which is what we're talking about. Bottom line is, he was the one who could have killed himself, the passengers in the car. Instead of hitting a pole, he could have hit
But who made
someone crossing the street with their baby carriage.
This was
instead
3
of a
o'clock
pole.
in the morning.
Hmm?
This was 3 o'clock in the morning.
So what? Are you trying to make an excuse for him?
No, I'm just saying that no
Don't
baby,
make
no one
any
in a baby
excuse for
carriage.
him.
I am not making an excuse. I
So if
told
it wasn't
him.
a baby carriage, if it was somebody
But I
coming home
understand
from a
what you're
3
saying.
o'clock shift working that was crossing the street that he could have killed because he's an idiot.
Right, I understand that.
All right, good. So let's not make any excuses. I don't like excuses for one's children. When they do something stupid, you're supposed to say, my kid did something stupid.
And that's exactly what I'm saying, Your
Perfect.
Honor.
Then he's going to
But
pay
I'm also
half.
saying that I feel that my son was a minor at the time. Her son was over 18. Yes, I am responsible for my child. Her son, who was working at the time, is responsible for himself. Right. Now, she sent me a letter saying that to split the difference. I sent her a letter back saying, because I feel that you are at fault as well as your son and the other gentleman in the car, I feel that the greatest burden should be paid by her and the 3 boys should split the remaining difference.
I see it differently. I see it big time differently, and I'm going to tell you why. But for the actions of your son, it is possible that that car would not have been driven that night. He didn't have to take the keys to the car and drive it. He could have said, I'm going back in the house and calling my mother and having her come and pick me up because I'm not going to drive this car while I'm drunk. If they want to act like fools and drive the car, that's none of my business. Then you wouldn't be standing here
Exactly.
today.
Also-
No, just a second. They're 2 idiots.
I agree with that. And the
All
mother
right.
is an idiot as well.
Excuse me?
I'm saying, had she not commended him, her undermining what I'm teaching my child by saying, yes, Jamal, you did a good thing driving my son home when he was drunk, maybe he wouldn't have drove this time. I'm not making an excuse, but I'm saying...
You are making an excuse,
No, I'm
madam.
not.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Like I said, this is all funny to me. There's no person in this world like me. I can overcome anything in this world at all, anything.
And later today,
Tom had been consenting to drinking and driving.
Mr. Jackson, you were blotto drunk.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Miss Martin, she said to you in her letter, split the difference
And I
with
don't
me
feel it
because
should be
I am
split.
prepared to accept part of the responsibility for giving my son the car. She didn't say to you, your son was driving, therefore he's got to pay the difference. She said, I'm prepared to split the difference with you. That's assuming, on her part, a certain responsibility for allowing her idiot to drive the car in the first place. Come on, get it together, madam. $2,900. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
The money, that's not nothing. I'm still going to live out my dreams and become the richest person in 5 years. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I said, this is all funny to me. They can get their money all they want to. But once they see what I become in the future, I mean, they're going to feel bad because they're not a part of it.
Well, there's somebody lying big time.
Yeah, must be, because that's what he said.
And it sure ain't me lying either.
and now the next case.
All parties on Heasley versus Jackson. Step forward, please.
Tom Heasley is suing his former friend Clark Jackson for wrecking his truck during a drunken camping trip. Clark says Tom encouraged him to drive while intoxicated and should share the blame for the accident.
Mr. Heasley, you and a few friends, including the defendant, went on a fishing vacation. Now, tell me about this fishing vacation. Who went on the fishing vacation?
Jesse Mobley, who's my witness, I went, and Clark Jackson went. We decided to go up to Rock Creek Lake to do some trout fishing to celebrate Jesse's wife being pregnant. So
Just a second. A bunch of guys went fishing to celebrate his wife being pregnant?
He had the choice of what we were going to do.
What's your name?
Jesse Mobley.
You must have a very understanding wife, Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
Lucky you. So you went trout fishing, got some liquor?
We brought up some beer. Clark purchased a pony keg to bring up for the second
Pony
night.
keg?
Yeah, 5 gallons of alcohol for our last night there.
Mr. Heasley, let's get to the truth of it. Everybody was pretty drunk, and he took your truck.
The night he took my trunk, all of us had a decent amount of alcohol.
Okay. Now, how did you get behind the wheel of this truck? Tell me about it.
Well, Your Honor, we had gone up to the store the night before and gotten some firewood, and we went back to the campsite that night, and we drank a couple more beers, and we started a campfire. I went to sleep, and they burned all the firewood that night, 5 bundles of firewood. The next night, I went to go light another fire, and I realized there wasn't any firewood, and I said, well, I'll go get some. Tom, you want to go with me? And he said, no, I don't want to go. I asked Jesse. Jesse said, no, he doesn't want to go. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go get it myself.
And you had been drinking?
Yes, I had been. It was a bad judgment error, and...
Is that what happened?
Not even close.
So tell me your version of what happened.
Clark jumped in the truck without permission before Jesse and I could protest from the back of the campsite, said, I'm going to the store, jumped in, and was gone. And I waited. This was a night where he had drank quite a bit. We all had. But none of us, Jesse and I were not anywhere near as drunk as Clark was. We weren't stumbling around the campsite. We weren't driving.
Okay, so he jumped in the car. And then when was the next time you saw him?
The next time I saw him was when I decided to put on my jacket and walk up to the store because he'd been gone for an hour and a half. I met the highway patrol coming down. It's documented here. They said, Tom, your truck has been totaled. We're taking Clark down for DUI.
Which they did?
Which they did.
Now, tell me about this truck that you have. How old is it?
It's an 88 Ford Bronco. I just purchased it for $4,900.
You have proof of the purchase price of this truck for me?
Yes.
Can I have it, please? Now, Mr. Jackson, while I'm looking at that, sir, why do you feel as if you're not responsible for his truck?
Basically, Your Honor, previously, well, the entire trip up there, Tom had been consenting to drinking and driving. Everywhere we went, we were drinking. On the way up there, Tom was sitting in the back seat of the Bronco handing us the alcohol.
How old are you, sir?
I am 22.
Not true.
There comes a point, sir, that you have to be totally and completely responsible for what you do.
Yes, ma'am, I do understand that. But he did give me consent earlier that day by saying, you are welcome to drive my truck anytime this weekend. You are a very good driver. I know you can handle it.
Mr. Jackson, you were blotto drunk.
Yes, ma'am, I do understand that.
You mean you think he should have said to you, you have permission to drive my truck unless you're blotto drunk?
Your Honor, there was never a point in time where that drinking and driving was an issue.
Well, it was an issue when you wrecked his truck.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. 28-year-old Tom Heasley says while on a camping trip with his buddies, Clark Jackson wrecked his truck.
You destroyed his truck. Were you able to salvage any part of it?
None of all the salvage fees went for the tow fee, $1,000 to have it towed out of the canyon. Where
And you
Clark
had no
parked it.
insurance?
Just minimal insurance.
What kind of, what's minimal? Look at me, sir.
Okay,
What kind of minimal insurance?
Just theft and collision.
Did your insurance pay
No,
anything
not-
towards the car,
not
is
a
what I
dime.
want to know.
Not a dime. I did not receive a dime.
What was your blood alcohol on that day, sir?
Ma'am, it was .14.
So did you plead guilty to DUI?
I am in the process, yes.
Okay. Easy. Don't drink and drive.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you're 22 years old and old enough to get behind the wheel of a car, that you have to know. Don't blame anybody else. It's nobody else's fault but yours. You get behind the wheel of a car and you're drunk, you're just lucky you didn't kill yourself or, more importantly, somebody else.
Yes,
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll back up to you right there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
I thought I had pretty good friends for a minute. I wanted to try and pay for the truck to salvage our friendship, but as you can tell, it wasn't possible. I had a really good friend over here, Jesse Mobley, basically ruined my life.
Myra Peraza says she and her former best friend, Tina Peraza, won a new Jeep in a raffle, but Tina refuses to share it. Tina claims it was her ticket that won the Jeep, making her the sole winner.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 301 on the calendar in the matter of Peraza versus Barraza. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am. Ma'am.
You two gals are real good friends. You went to some sort of an event, which you're going to tell me about. One of the things that happened at that event was that there was a door prize of a brand new Jeep automobile. Right?
Correct. Yes.
She won. You think that you should get half. Right?
No. Not exactly.
Well,
I think we both won.
You think you both won, and she claimed the prize.
Yeah, she ended up going behind my back and claiming the prize.
All right, let's start from the beginning. What kind of an event was this?
It was just an event from a radio station and Taco Bell. It was just a concert.
Slowly.
It was just a concert. It was just a concert where these rappers are going to be there or something like that.
You, according to your complaint, got the concert tickets and asked her if she wanted to go.
No. She got the concert tickets.
She got the tickets.
Yeah, and she asked me if I wanted to go.
Okay.
And I agreed, and we went. And at the door, they asked us if we wanted to gamble, and we said yes. And they gave us $500 fake dollars each.
Did you have to pay for that?
No. They just asked us at the front if you wanted to gamble, you got $500. If you didn't, well, you didn't gamble.
So it was like Monopoly money.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Okay.
And after that, she asked me, I mean, I was there with her the whole time, but then she asked me if she could gamble my money, and I said, sure, go ahead, you know, and she's like...
You weren't gambling?
No, I was just standing right there, just helping her out. That was about it. She gambled, she got all my money, she gambled it away, and we ended up getting chips for, just chips, regular chips that you gamble with, in return when you were gambling, so we had to trade those in for tickets, and... after that, some guys just came up to us and told us that, oh, they were leaving. They were in a rush, so they came over and they gave us their tickets. They said, here, girls, good luck, and if you guys win, give us a call.
So now you had these whole bunch of tickets, and you threw them in a pot.
We just, yeah.
Who held on to the stubs?
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it was, she had it in my backpack, so she put it in the backpack. We had a backpack. It was only one, so she put them in there.
And you had a whole bunch of them. How many did you have?
There was probably 50 or probably more. I wouldn't know. We didn't count them. And we just threw them inside the backpack. And it was time for them to call out the tickets. The time came, so we went down there and they started calling out tickets. We won other prizes. Prior to that, we won something else. And it was time to call out.
What else did you win?
We won a jacket and a backpack. And
what'd you do with that?
One of us kept the backpack and the other one kept the jacket.
Is that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I guess the time came to win the thing, and we just got the tickets, and she's like, here, you take half, because there was so many of them. We just split them up. She said, you take half, I'll take the other half. And
to look at the numbers as they were calling the numbers.
Yeah, so then after that, they called the number. That was about it. They called
And you had the ticket. You were holding that ticket.
Yeah, she was holding the ticket.
Okay. Now let me ask you this question. I'll ask you this question. There came a time when you did split up these tickets, right? She held half and you held half. Tell me about that moment.
As I recall, we just split them up.
Not we split them up. They're in your hands.
Okay, I split them up evenly.
Split them up evenly?
Yes, I just gave her half and, you know, we both looked at them.
Okay. Am I correct that your reason that was done was because it's too difficult to look at all the numbers as they're calling out the numbers like in a bingo or something, you know, so that each one of you was looking through half.
Correct.
Right? And your ticket won.
Yeah, they were my tickets. They were all my tickets.
Now, why do you think they were all your tickets?
Because she had given me her $500. I did not ask her if I can play with her $500. She gave them to me. She gave the $500 to me.
How did that come about?
She said, here, take my money. You can gamble with it.
Is that what you said?
No.
No, that's not what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
No, we were gambling. She ended up, she was like down to her last $50, and she just said, can I, oh, let me have your money. And she said, if we would win the Jeep, we would split it up.
I had said that from the guys' tickets. I had the guys' tickets in one hand, and I had my tickets in the other hand. The ones that I had won.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't. All the tickets were together in your backpack at one point. Oh, I think that they probably were. All the tickets were together in your backpack.
At one point, I had put them all together, yes.
Right. So at that point, they were all mixed together.
Yes.
Yours and the guys.
Yes.
Right. So there really is no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or the guy's ticket that won.
Exactly.
Well, now at least we got that straight. So it's not in one hand and then the other hand.
But I had told her, out of their tickets that they gave us, actually they gave me the tickets, and I told her out of those tickets, if we win it, we'll split it because we were friends.
You couldn't tell whether it was their ticket that won.
No, we could not.
You just assumed it was comfortable for you to say it wasn't one of their tickets that won, it was my ticket that won.
I did not say that.
You had no way of knowing whether it was your ticket that won or one of the guys' tickets that won.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly.
Mike, Teelan. Hello?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You speak to this pain in the neck, and a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep.
And later today,
He had stolen my daughter's clothes before. I also have sex letters where he signed up for sex calls. And I have pictures to prove what kind of person he is.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
19-year-old Myra Barraza is suing her former best friend Tina Barraza after they won a new Jeep in a raffle.
I see that you have a tape there. Can you tell me what that tape is of?
This is just the day of the event. Recorded us where we both claimed the prize. We both did go up there and claim the prize. And
For the
said,
Jeep?
Yes.
I want to see it.
Mm.
Here we go. 607-487. You got it? All right, girl. We're going home with it. Who won the Jeep?
Well, that certainly looks as if, at least at that moment, there was a mutuality that each of you won that prize. So what happened?
I was willing to split with her.
So?
And that's what we were going to do until about a month later. She had called me up, and she had said that she wanted to give it to me. She said, go ahead and have it, in other words.
Where was it?
I hadn't got it yet.
Did you do that?
No, I called her up. There was all this stuff was going on with the Jeep. We didn't know what we were going to do. It was a big old thing about it. We didn't know how we were going to split it up, who was going to pay for tax and license and everything. And we were going to get the confirmation letter. And I called her up and I told her, yes, you could stay with the Jeep. But she had said if she stood with the Jeep, she was going to give me an $8,000 loan. That's how much the car was worth, $16,000.
I did not state that.
And I told her, okay. She said she was going to tell her dad, sell her other car that she had just bought, sell it back, and instead of paying $15,000, she'll just tell her dad to get an $8,000 loan and pay me for it. And I said, okay. We agreed. I never thought anything. I just said, okay. We didn't. It was just a verbal thing. But I did tell her, okay, you could keep the Jeep and
that sounds reasonable because you can't split up the Jeep.
Yeah, and I just said, okay. And I said, you could pay my $8,000 or else we're just going to sell the Jeep and we're both going to get our half.
She did not say that on the phone. She told me that she wanted me to keep the Jeep. That's what she told me.
What? Of course, that's what she said to you.
Yeah, but she did not specify that she wanted me to give her $8,000.
Well, why would she make you a gift of $8,000? If the Jeep is worth $16,000, why in the world do you think, madam, that she would make you a gift of $8,000, which is half of the Jeep? Why?
I don't understand what you're saying.
Well, let's go slowly. What word didn't you understand? Why do you think that she would make you a present of $8,000?
She did not say anything about $8,000. I did not hear anything about $8,000 on that telephone call. At that time, I was like happy. I was happy that she'd given it to me. And I figured that
What are you doing standing up here?
I want to step in for the spot where she called her. She told me through everything that happened. She called me every time they had a conversation. She was asking me, what should I do? What should I do? What do I do about the Jeep? Do I split it in half? Should I sell it? What? I told her, you know what? You won the tickets to that concert. It's your Jeep. You were holding the ticket at the time she won it.
Oh, you're the troublemaker. Sit down. Sit down.
As I was saying, I figured the reason why she said that on the telephone is because she knew that she did not have any part in the ticket winning.
Oh, please, madam. I want to tell you something. I think that your conduct was really outrageous to bring it to this point. First of all, the two of you have been friends. There isn't a question in my mind. What?
9 years.
12 years.
There isn't a question in my mind, after looking at that tape, that at the time that that Jeep was won, the two of you, both of you, I saw her signing papers.
We didn't sign any
Just a
paper.
second.
It was just a back of a flyer. We put down both our names and addresses.
Right. It was the back of a flyer. You both put down your names and addresses as the winners. Right?
Yes.
That's what it looked like to me on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometime you speak to this pain in the neck who says to you, I don't think you have to split it with her at all because it was your ticket, it was in your hand. And a 12-year friendship is down the drain over a Jeep because there is no logical reason that I can think of, except if you're drinking too much, to think that this lady would call you up and say, I just want to give it to you because you're a very nice person. I care about you.
No.
Please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
That's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude did it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Myra Peraza and her former best friend, Tina Barraza, won a new Jeep in a raffle. But Myra says Tina is refusing to share.
Listen to me. Bottom line is, the maximum jurisdiction in this court is $5,000.
I know.
You understand that?
Yeah, I know.
Right? Now, she claimed this prize. I assume you went and claimed the prize.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Correct. She told me to do what's right, and that's what I thought was right.
Yeah, she just went off this one day. I spoken to her the weekend before she did this. I spoken to her the whole week when she went off to the radio station and had a cashier's check with her parents. And she did this on Friday. I spoke to her Friday and Saturday. She told me nothing. I told her what's going on. She said nothing. I haven't spoken to them. I haven't heard of anything.
Miss Peraza, your friendship's over.
I know that.
And based upon what I've heard, that's probably the right thing to happen.
Yeah, I know.
Because she's not a very trustworthy person. Now, she claimed the Jeep. She's going to have to pay the taxes on it. But I'm awarding you $5,000, which is the maximum that I can. My grandmother used to say, if you do the right thing happens. If you do the wrong thing, eventually it's going to catch up with you. What you did was pretty sneaky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Okay, you got your Jeep. Better money.
Back door to your right, please.
Just to reiterate what Judge Judy said, bad things, it all comes back to people or whatever. It's going to come back to her because I did what I thought was right, and in God, I trust that I did what's right, and I think it's going to come back to her what she did because she was wrong, not me. She's lucky for even being there. She's lucky for even being at the event. I don't see that she deserves half. I won the tickets to go to the event, and she was even lucky that I took her.
You got your $5,000 you wanted.
I did.
So now you can shut up.
Yeah, you
Okay.
too.
You have nothing to do with this.
And now the next case.
Parties on Anderson versus Rankin. Step forward, please.
Margaret Anderson is suing her tenant, Tim Rankin, claiming he made phone calls to 900 numbers totaling more than $1,000.
All right, Mr. Rankin. You rented a room from the plaintiff.
That's correct.
And I believe that you will agree, based upon what doesn't seem to be in dispute, that when you moved in, you wanted a telephone in your room.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
She offered to put the phone.
Because of prior problems, you couldn't get the phone in your name.
I owed a past due bill on the Pacific bill.
So the answer to my question is yes. You couldn't get the phone in your name.
Correct.
I knew we'd get there, Bird.
Take your time, George.
So she said, okay.
Yes.
Right? Are you nervous?
Yes.
Hmm?
Yes.
I could tell you were nervous. She said, okay, you put the phone in your room, and within a relatively short period of time, you got a bill.
Yep.
And how much was that bill for?
$1,059.
For a 1 month period?
2 months period.
2 months. And you say I didn't do it.
I didn't do it, Your Honor.
Is the phone in your room?
Yes, it is.
You think she did it?
I doubt
Look at this lady. Look, I just want you to look at her. You think she went into your room and made the calls?
I doubt it.
Somebody's got to pay the bill.
That's right.
Now, you want to try to explain to me in 100 words or less why it shouldn't be you?
In 100 words or less, I don't know if I can do it in 100 words or less, but I believe that the other tenant that was living there made those phone calls.
So,
and there's a reason behind why I think he made those phone calls.
I'll hear you.
Okay, well, the former tenant and her had a limousine business. She put up $27,000 for a limousine. Somehow I was drawn into the middle of that. Their business relationship didn't work out from the get-go. They were screaming and yelling every night there. And because I didn't take his side in the limousine business, he started to have an attitude against me. Eventually, I had to throw him in jail for assault on me at the lady's house. The following day, her and I went down and put restraining orders on him. At that point, I believe he went in my room. He wanted me out of that house no matter what, no matter what the cost, so he could work on her by himself. I believe that he went into my room and made a bunch of phone calls, information phone calls. I'm not sure what exactly they were. Psychic, maybe. I don't know what kind of phone calls they were.
Psychic hotline calls? Is that what they were?
900. Sex calls.
Sex calls.
Sex calls. Okay.
Okay. So that's your defense. You know, we used to call that, when I was sitting judge in Manhattan, somebody once told me that that's called the Soddy principle, S-O-D-D-I. Some other dude
done it.
Did it. Did you ever hear that?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Rankin, let's keep this simple, sir. Somebody's got to pay this bill. The phone is in your room. If the phone had been in your room and been in your name, you would have had to have paid the phone bill. And then if you felt that somebody in an unauthorized fashion used your phone, you would go and sue them, right?
That's correct.
But you don't say to the telephone company, listen, Ma Belle, I didn't make the phone calls from my phone. Somebody else did it. You pay the bill, and then you pursue whatever other remedies you have. You are responsible to safeguard the phone in your room. Not her. She was doing you a favor. Why should she be out $1,059? Is there any reason?
No, there's not a reason
Good.
she should be out.
Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,059.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Everybody's not like Tim. There is nice people out there. I went ballistic. Yeah, I was very, very surprised, shocked, mad, angry, really, really upset.
He had stolen my daughter's clothes before. I also have sex letters where he signed up for sex calls. And I have pictures to prove what kind of person he is.
I was used and abused.
Preston Simmons and his sister, Teresa, are fighting over the extra space in a burial plot that Preston wanted for himself. But he claims his sister secretly put her late mother in the grave instead.
Order. All rise. Charge number 24 on the calendar in the matter of Simmons versus Simmons. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat.
Mr. Simmons, this is your sister who you're suing because you say that she buried your mother in a grave that you purchased almost 30 years ago.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So let me hear the story.
Okay, years ago, me and my brother were very close. He's 1 year, 1 week behind me. It was always our intentions that whoever died first would purchase the grave and we would be buried together.
Just a second. According to your papers, sir, your brother died in 1969. That's almost 30 years ago.
That's correct.
How old was your brother when he died?
24.
And so you're telling me that you and your brother, you were at that time a year apart. So you were 24, he was 25, or you were?
I was 25. I'm the oldest out of 7.
You're the oldest. So at that age, at age 25, you and your brother talked about dying?
No, we didn't talk about dying.
Well, you had to talk about dying if you talked about where you wanted to be buried together.
Well,
that you wanted to be buried together.
We talked about going into business together. And
Going into business is not dying.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes it's dying. But, Mr. Simmons, are those prescription glasses, sir?
Yes, it is, Your Honor.
Mr. Simmons, are you telling me that 30 years ago, you talked to your brother about where the two of you wanted to be buried?
That's correct.
All right, I'm waiting for the rest of the story. Go ahead.
Okay. So our agreement was whoever died first would buy the grave, and we either be buried side by side or on top. We also agreed that whoever died first, one would carry the other one's first name as their middle name. In 1969, and on August the 30th, my brother was shot and killed. He died in my arms. It devastated me. When we paid for the funeral, there wasn't enough money to buy his grave, but it was always our agreement, our oral agreement, that I would buy the grave. I bought the grave and had it dug extra deep. In February of
Why did you have it dug extra deep?
Well, because there wasn't any plot left for me to purchase by his side. So we had to dug extra depth so that when my time comes, I will be buried in that same grave.
Okay, can I see the proof of that purchase, sir?
Yes. There you have Exhibit 1. You have a check. That's not the check, but it was a check that was wrote upon, that I wrote upon, and that's my receipt.
What? I have a blank check here.
Yes, well, that's not the check, but it was wrote on the check similar to that.
I'm not interested in this. It's a blank check. Sir, are you telling me that this receipt is a receipt that you kept for 30 years?
To God's faith, yes, 30 years.
This piece of paper you've had in your possession for 30 years?
30 years.
Very well preserved for a 30-year piece of paper. Go ahead.
In February, my mother passed. My sister buried our mother in that grave plot without my permission. Now, she knew that me and my brother was very close, and that our agreement was that we'd be buried together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, she received money from the insurance company, plus, well, here's a chiller and the thriller. She went to my dad and got $2,500 from him, telling him that there wasn't enough money to buy our mother's grave. So he gave her $2,500.
This is a bill for $346 that you just gave me on this well-preserved piece of paper. $346. You're suing her for $1,739.14.
Because that's what this grave would cost today. Here's my receipt. That's what that same grave would cost today.
Well, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, whether that's what it costs today, you had this grave dug extra deep, and what you're suing for is really an emotional situation where you say you can never be buried now next to your brother or on top of your brother because they used the grave. So whatever it is, you would have to purchase a different plot anyway. So.
It is not fair. If I drop dead right now, I would have to go and buy a grave.
No, you wouldn't. Not unless you found some magic, sir. Somebody else would have to do it. Where did you expect her to bury your mother?
My mother had an insurance policy to take care of her.
Did you go to your mother's funeral?
No, I didn't. No.
Why not?
Well, at the time, because of her, me and my mother wasn't on speaking terms when she passed.
How old was your mother?
70.
Oh, that's not old. Did she die suddenly?
Died of cancer.
So it was a long illness.
Yes.
Did you visit with her during her illness?
Up until a couple of years before she died.
But you didn't go to her funeral?
No.
Did you know where she was buried?
I knew she was buried at Evergreen, but I didn't know she was buried in my grave plot.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Your Honor, everything he is saying is a lie. He's a professional con man that just got out of jail last year for perjury and fraud, and he needs money. He uses the court system to do just that. Now, I'm the person that went to the DA and turned him in, and he has been harassing me since 1991.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what are you here complaining about? That we used this gravesite to bury your mother?
Yes, that was my grave. I purchased that grave.
And later today,
He passed away on the 8th.
So you were married a total of 7 days. Hardly enough time for honeymoon.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Preston Simmons and his sister, Teresa, are fighting over the extra space in a burial plot that Preston wanted for himself.
Go ahead.
I have a list of the restraining orders that I have against him. Also, I have a letter from the cemetery saying that my mother was next in line for the grave.
Let me see what you have from the cemetery, please. Terry Lee was your brother who was killed?
Yes.
And according to this letter from the cemetery, Terry Lee listed your mother on the papers before he died.
No, my mother went and she gave Preston the money. She trusted him at the time to pay for the grave.
Did your mother give you this money?
No, mother didn't give me the money. I paid for that grave myself, and I paid with it by a check.
You mean like the blank check that you gave me?
Yes, it was wrote up on a check, exactly like this check here. The check number is down at the bottom on your right-hand side of my receipt. I have a witness, an eyewitness who was there when I bought the grave. He was a pallbearer at my brother's funeral.
Excuse me, Your Honor, I flunky. He will tell any lie.
Oh, let me, just a second. I have to hear him, madam. It's my determination whether or not he's lying or not. Step up, sir. Tell me your name.
My name is Andrew Garrett.
Tell me what you know about this.
Well, Your Honor, all I know is that when Terry Lee passed away, I took Mr. Simmons down and he bought a plot. And that's all I know. Now, if the mother gave him...
Did he pay cash for
No,
that?
it was a check. He did write a check out. Now, if his mother gave him some money, that I do not know.
Mr. Simmons, your mother, I assume, was distraught when her son was killed.
Yes, she was, but I was too.
Let me explain something to you, Mr. Simmons. A sibling is never touched by the death of a sibling as a parent is touched by the untimely death of a child. That's not the order of things. The order of things is parents go first. Don't try, Mr. Simmons, to compare the way you felt to the way your mother felt if she was a normal person. So you really don't know where he got the money from to buy this?
No, I do not.
Okay. Just for my own information, did you get money from your father?
No, I did not. No, we paid cash up front, my sisters and I and my aunt, because we could not find my mother's policies at the time.
How much did the funeral cost?
It cost us $5,165.
Was there any insurance that covered any part of it that was ultimately paid?
No, when we got the insurance money back, it was $3,600.
And who absorbed the rest of the cost?
The different siblings that she had beneficiary.
So that the four of you covered the difference between what the insurance covered for the funeral and the...
Actually, it was more, Your Honor.
That's not true, Your Honor. I has a piece of paper where she received $2,600
From?
From my mother's benefit of her insurance.
Do you know how much the funeral cost, sir?
No, I don't.
Well, that she just said. It cost over $5,000. That's not an unreasonable amount. That's what funerals usually cost.
No, but my dad gave her. She went to my dad and told my dad there wasn't enough money to purchase the grave, not the funeral.
Don't tell me what you told your father, sir. What I'm telling you is, even if she got, according to your papers, $2,500 from your father, even if I believe that, the funeral cost $5,000 plus. So what are you here complaining about? That we used this grave site to bury your mother?
Yes, that was my grave. I purchased
All right,
that grave.
I've heard enough. This case is dismissed. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Downs versus Downs. Step forward, please.
51-year-old Amelia Downs says after her husband died, his ex-wife, Esther Downs, 46, refused to return his automobile.
Mrs. Downs, you were married to Mr. Downs at the time of his death, correct?
Correct.
Mrs. Downs, you had been married to Mr. Downs for 22 years and have children with him.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
21 and 19.
When did you marry Mr. Downs?
I married him 2 years ago, November 8th. November 1st, excuse me.
1995?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when did he pass away?
He passed away on the 8th.
The 8th of what?
95.
So you were married a total of 7 days?
Yes, Your Honor.
Hardly enough time for honeymoon.
Yeah.
This dispute is over an automobile. An automobile that the deceased had at the time of his death that was in his name, is that right?
Yes.
That each of you believe you're entitled to. So, Miss Downs, why don't you tell me why you think you're entitled to this car?
Initially, Your Honor, she was actually never married to my husband. She was a common law wife, and it wasn't 22 years. She was living with him for 17 years.
That's a long time. 17 years is more than 7 days.
True.
Okay.
We had planned on getting married a year and a half before his death. And he was going through a divorce because he wanted to make sure that the living arrangements that he had with Esther was final. So she wouldn't come back and say that they were actually married.
So he went through a divorce with her, even though you say they weren't married?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why didn't you pay the parking tickets?
I paid a lot of them.
You didn't pay all of them. You
No.
acknowledge you didn't pay all of them. Why didn't you pay them?
I was unemployed at the time.
That's not her problem.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Amelia Downs wants her late husband's ex-wife, Esther Downs, to return his car.
Could we move on with this, please?
During
Get to the car.
During the period of time that he was, we were planning for our marriage, the doctor told him that he had leukemia, but he didn't tell him he was going to die. And he was in the hospital for a period of time. During that period of time, the divorce papers were final. He was in and out of the hospital. Every time he went into the hospital, Esther would come and borrow the car. I think that was on 4 occasions that he was admitted in the hospital. On each occasion, she'd borrow the car. After his death, I told her I was going to come and pick the car up. She said, okay. I went to the house. When I got there, she said she changed her mind. I didn't argue with her. She drove me home. And the car was paid off. It was a brand new 1995 Concord, Chrysler Concord, and he had only driven it for 8 months. It was $22,000 and had a $17,000 payoff. Upon his death, it was paid off. And
how was it paid off?
The insurance that he purchased it from the credit union.
Okay, so it's free, and car is free and clear.
So she went to the credit union and told him that the car belonged to her. I told him that it belonged to him because it was in his name. They didn't know who to give the pink slip to, so she has had the car ever since.
Ever since 1995?
Yes.
Now, you say that you spent some money on this car.
Yes.
Tell me about the money that you spent on this car.
She got a lot of citations, parking citations, and other citations for not having tabs on the vehicle because she was driving it. And then the car was towed from in front of her house, where it stayed in the tow yard for 3 months. I assume she wasn't going to take it out, perhaps because she may, I don't know if she does or not, have another car. I was told that the car was going to be auctioned, so therefore I didn't want to auction. I said if I can sell the car. So I paid off her citations. I took the car out of Hawk, and all of that equaled $4,000 plus dollars.
You have proof of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can I see it, please? Why didn't you pay the parking tickets?
I paid a lot of them.
You didn't pay all of them. You acknowledge you didn't pay all of them. Why didn't you pay them?
I was unemployed at the time.
That's not her problem.
No, but it's my reason.
No, but it's not her problem. You amassed $1,086 in parking tickets. You or your son? Who drives the car?
No, I did.
You did?
Yes.
So they towed your car in order to get the car back because there was a lien fee, a storage fee of $26.98.
I didn't have the money.
So she paid it, $4,000?
Yes.
And you still have the car?
No.
Who has the car?
I had the car towed to my house, Your Honor, because I thought I was going to be able to sell it, but I can't even park it legally on the street because it's not registered. I can't register it because I don't have the pink slip, and I can't get the pink slip.
Where's the pink slip?
The credit union won't release the pink slip because she says that she owns the car, and I say my husband owns the car, and they want a judge to tell them who to give the pink slip to.
All right. You have 2 minutes to tell me why you think this car is yours.
I don't really think it's mine. I think my sons have an interest in his estate. Since he didn't have a will, I was named designator for something. My sons were designator for something else.
So your sons received funds?
No, they haven't. They were designated beneficiaries, which they have not been able to collect.
Well, I assume that eventually, if they are designated beneficiaries, they're going to be collecting that money.
So.
In your judgment of divorce, it provided that the car was his alone, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It seems to me this car was purchased in 1995. $22,000 is what it was purchased for. Let us assume that it is depreciated over the last 2.5 years, and it is worth somewhere around $15,000. Let's assume that. You paid $4,000 just to get the car out of hock that you put the car in. Right?
Yes.
Good. So, I'm going to have my clerk prepare an order that the pink slip for the car be turned over to you, madam.
Thank you.
And that way, you will be able to recoup the $4,000 that you spent on the car. You and your sons had an opportunity to drive the car. I must tell you, Mrs. Downs, I find that you acted very irresponsibly with regard to not taking care of the car. Your sons may have had an interest in it. They should have taken better care of it and made sure it didn't wind up in the pound. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Back door to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm glad it's settled. I did tally up the tabs. Amelia deserves that. And as far as the car, you know, it's been awarded to her. I think that's fair if it makes up for it. I'm glad it's over. And good luck to you.
Thank you.
"17-year-old student Amanda Armas says classmate Regina Camacho, also 17, attacked her. Amanda is suing Regina for $5,000.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 455 on the calendar in the matter of Armas versus Camacho. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
This suit has to do with an assault
That's correct.
and damages that you are asking for
Yes.
an assault that occurred about 2 years ago.
Yes, that's correct.
You were both in high school at the time. Is that right?
Yes.
Did you know each other in high school?
Yes, we did.
So there was a lot of gossiping. That's what this all started about.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to her house.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you tell me why?
There's just been a lot of hatred between me and Amanda, and it just got to the point where it needed to be stopped. Not stopped like what had happened, but we needed to talk about it, and what came out of it was a fight.
That's all very soft. Why was there a lot of hatred?
Just gossip, just talking trash about each other.
Like what?
Just basically, she would tell someone that she didn't like me or that.
Your Honor, I never told anyone.
You mean she told people she didn't like you?
And vice versa. I did the same about her. We didn't like each other since like the 8th grade.
Good, so you didn't like each other. What caused you to get in a car and go to her house?
On Halloween, we were out trick-or-treating, and it was a bunch of us, and we started like joking about it.
Joking about what?
Going to Amanda's house and confronting her. And we ended up doing that. We ended up going to her house. She came outside, and we started talking about it. We started arguing back and forth.
Well, just a minute. Did you knock at the door? How did she come outside?
2 of my friends called her outside.
And she came outside?
Mm-hmm.
She by herself?
No, she was with a friend.
She was with one friend?
Yes.
And how many friends were you with?
Quite a few. I couldn't tell you exactly.
And how did you get close enough to her to get physical?
Well, my witness confronted her first and just said that we needed to talk about a couple things.
We needed to talk?
That me and Amanda needed to talk about a couple things because of all the problems that we had between each other.
And then what happened?
And then I went out there, and we started arguing back and forth.
What do you mean you started arguing? Let's hear about
I asked her about the things that she was telling people.
That she didn't like you?
Right.
And what did she say to you?
She denied everything.
So, what was next?
And we just continued to argue back and forth, and then someone pushed her into me. And that's when we began to fight.
Someone that you were with?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you hit her?
Yes, ma'am.
You can't do that. You think that you were right?
No, I don't justify that, but there's only so much you can take from anybody.
So far, I didn't hear anything terrible. I didn't hear anything terrible.
When people are talking about you, it tends to get on your nerves. And
get used to it. People aren't always going to say, oh, she's lovely, Miss Camacho, she's lovely, she's sweet, I like her, she's the best thing in the world since, apple pie. They're not going to say that all the time.
There's people that are going to talk about you, yes, but when they constantly do it, it's going to bother you.
So it bothers you. It bothers you. There are lots of things that bother Bird. How were you injured?
I was diagnosed with a malalignment in my back, and I had a black eye.
Excuse me. The black eye, yeah, I can take that, but I'm not the one that kicked you in the back. I'm not the one that sent you to the chiropractor.
Who did?
Someone that was with me, which later on became her friend.
But somebody that you brought there kicked her in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
How many times were you either kicked or punched? I don't remember. Everything went so fast, Your Honor, but I do remember it was repeatedly. If you'd like, I have x-rays here and also...
X-rays. If I could read x-rays, I wouldn't be here.
I also have pictures.
Pictures I can read. You don't want to say anything.
Yes, I do.
Oh, God. She wants to say something.
I don't think it's a good idea, Judge.
Ah, please. Why don't you step up here? Tell me who you are.
Regina's friend, Valeria Barca. I was there at the time when they fought. Told her
What do you have to contribute to this case, madam?
That she did not kick her in the back. I was there. I grabbed the girl off for her, and I was the one who broke them up.
Are you wonderful? Sit down.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
No, my daughter, she doesn't lie to me. She is very honest with me. I've taught her that.
Your daughter came home and told you exactly what happened that night, Miss Camacho, because the police were involved.
And later today,
On the way up there, she stopped at a liquor store, and all three of us were drinking up there. But
You're supposed to be the designated driver, not the designated drunk driver.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. High school student Amanda Armas is suing another student, Regina Camacho, for assault.
Is this your daughter? Yes. Could you step up here, please? What did you do to her after she did this?
When she came home to tell me that she had done this, I restricted her. I reprimanded her.
What did you mean you restricted her?
I restricted her for a month from going out having any social activities, and I told her it was wrong for her to have gone to this girl's house to do what she did. At the time that she did what she did, it was at the spur of the moment. She wasn't thinking. When she came home, she understood it was wrong.
And she came home and told you about it?
Yes, she told me right away as soon as she got home that night.
Did her mother call you?
Her mother did not call me. I had no contact from them until later when the police tried to contact us. They never did call us again. But I was more than willing to settle anything that they wanted.
That's not true.
No, because I never heard from you.
I'm curious to find out what happened with the police. Could you step up here? You're her mom.
Yes.
Did you report this matter to the police?
Yes, ma'am, right away.
What happened with the police? Because this was very fuzzy in the complaint.
Okay, when the police came, the police had stopped them already once, but they didn't know what had happened yet. So when they came to my house, they told us, and we described them to the police, and they said, oh, well, we just stopped them. They were running. We stopped them and asked them why they were running. They said, oh, somebody scared us. Right.
Well, why wasn't this complaint ever followed up?
It was.
By the police?
There is a police report.
But she was never arrested.
No.
They said that they contacted her father, and her father said that she had left to Las Vegas
Right.
and got married.
That is not true.
I mean, it was very strange to me why the police never followed up on this assault. They certainly should have. That doesn't necessarily mean she's got to go to jail for 7.5 to 15, but it certainly means that there should be some indication that this is the kind of activity she's involved with, because I'm looking at the smirk on her face, right? And it's irritating. So, Mrs. Camacho, they're suing for damages. Now your daughter looks like a perfectly healthy young woman, which means that she goes to school and she should get a part-time job in the afternoon in order to pay these damages.
She is working, Your Honor.
Good. Then she's going to pay for damages because she's responsible for the injuries to this young lady. But she is going... Yes, you want to say something?
But her depression and her withdrawal from school, being afraid to go to school because she was constantly harassed, to where she, up
Just
to
a
this
second.
day, doesn't go to
Miss
school.
Armas, your mom says that you withdrew from school.
Yes.
Is that after this attack?
Yes, it was.
Why did you withdraw from school?
Because everywhere I walked down the hallways, they were always teasing me, always telling me things.
Or harassing her.
Harassing me.
Who was?
Regina.
Her friends and her.
Oh,
just a second. Like what?
Asking me what I'm doing next Halloween, asking me how my eye was, asking me if my back was okay. Very
But in a smirky
sarcastic.
way. Yeah, sarcastic way.
So you dropped out of school?
Yes.
You didn't drop out, you changed
No,
schools?
Went independent study.
How had your grades been before?
I was an honor roll student. I have been my whole life.
What?
Your Honor, I don't believe that my daughter still continued to harass her because the
You weren't
harassment...
there.
She harassed
You
me
weren't
for
there.
years.
Because I know I wasn't there, but I know my daughter, she doesn't lie to me. She is very honest with me. I've taught her that.
Your daughter came home and told you exactly what happened that night, Miss Camacho, because the police were involved. If the police had not been involved, your daughter would have told you nothing. And there isn't a question in my mind that after this incident was over, they continued to make her life miserable when she was in school. She and her friends. But she started it, which means they destroyed what sounds to me was a very successful career in high school. Because socially, if you're taunted when you're in high school and if it's uncomfortable, you just don't want to go back. So your daughter's going to pay for that. And you're going to pay for it. If you're smart, you'll make your daughter make up the money. But they're suing for $5,000. And I'm giving it to them. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back up to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Eastwood versus Orozco. Step forward, please.
18-year-old Maria Eastwood is suing her friend, 20-year-old Sylvia Orozco, for wrecking her car after a night of drinking.
Miss Eastwood, you and the defendant, according to your complaint, were out for an evening, doing a little drinking, partying, bar hopping. Is that right?
Correct.
She was the designated driver?
Yes.
And she wrecked your car?
Yes.
You want her to pay for the damage?
Yes, I do.
She says she gave you some money. Did you give her some money?
Yes, I have receipts right here.
How much did she give you?
$600.
Actually, it's $750 because Carissa, my witness right here, she was there that night, and she paid for the impound because the car got impounded, and it was $175 or something like that, and I gave Carissa $150, so that went towards her car too. So it's $750.
Excuse me. Talking about for the damage to the car. You gave us $600 for the damage. Correct?
Plus the.
I don't want to bring Carissa up here. You look as if you're freezing.
No,
Miss Carissa.
not yet.
Huh?
Not
Did you
yet.
know you were coming to court today? Carissa, hey! You think that that's an appropriate outfit to wear to court?
Yes,
Did your
that's
dress
what I did.
split, or is that the way you put it on this morning?
That's the way it is.
Better just sit right where you are.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If you're going out with girlfriends and you're going to act like morons and drink, right? Take a cab. Take a cab.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Maria Eastwood wants her friend, Sylvia Orozco, to pay damages for her crashed car after a night of drinking.
Now, how much was the car to be fixed?
The total damage, Your Honor, was
I want to see the estimate.
$2,507. I have every estimate, everything that's been paid towards the car. I have pictures, my statement, the police report, the impound, everything that you can need is all there.
Now, you want to explain to me why you think you're not responsible for all the damage to this car?
Because I was doing a favor as to her because she got drunk, and then when they told me to go get the car, I went to go get the car, they left, they took a taxi cab somewhere else. I waited for half an hour in the area thinking that they would call me, they never did. So I drove her car all the way back to Carissa's house. And then from there, finally I got a page, and that's when I drove to get her because she ended up going home with some guy. So I went to go pick her up, and that's when I got in the accident. I was trying to get her because she was drunk, she was throwing up on the street.
Tell me about the accident.
The accident was, I was driving on 880, the freeway, and I was turning onto 101, and there was a car in front of me, and she ran out of gas, and it was raining really hard, so when I pressed on the brakes, I just kept going.
So you were going too fast to stop?
I was only going 15.
You hit the other car in the rear?
Yeah.
So it was your fault?
Excuse me, Your
So
Honor.
yeah, it was my fault.
I believe that Sylvia did tell me the next day that she was driving a little too fast, but I have no proof to that documentation.
Doesn't make any difference. She damaged your car. Now, what kind of car was this?
A 91 Geo Storm.
91 Geo?
Correct.
Did you buy it new?
No, it's secondhand. But
And how much did you pay for it?
$5,500.
How many estimates did you get?
I only have one estimate listed in there, which is the body work.
Is your car currently being fixed?
Body work? No, I don't have the money to pay for the body work.
What did you do with the $600 she gave you?
Oh, she paid me 4 installments of $150, and that went towards the amount paid to fix the engine. When she wrecked the car, she wrecked the front end.
Clearly, there's a lot of damage to this car.
Yeah.
The estimate that you got for $2,500 is not outrageous, considering the kind of damage that you did to
Yeah,
this
but
car.
I mean, she gave me the one estimate from the body work, which was $630, and she never gave me anything else after that. So I mean,
Did you tell her how much it was?
Yeah, she told me, but how do I know?
Things happen gradually. I thought when the car first broke down, it was towed to a shop.
All right, I don't want to go into it. Listen.
It's a long story. But if she was
I mean, I was
she was
trying
going
to pay
pay
for
me
it. I
money,
got 2 jobs
she
to
should
pay
have
for
asked,
it.
Your Honor, she should have asked For proof, she should have. I offered.
I asked you proof, and you said you were going to bring it to me
do me a
when
favor.
you pick up
Jasmine,
money.
to be quiet, please.
Quiet.
I'm really
Thank
tired
you.
today. $2,500 based upon what I see. Usually, when you come to court, you should have 3 estimates, not just 1.
I'm sorry.
Do you understand?
This is my first time in court.
How long ago did this happen?
November 22nd.
23rd.
Were you pretty drunk that night? Right here.
I drank too much, past my limit.
How
I
old
know
are
my
you?
limit. 19.
How old were you then?
18.
You didn't drink at all?
I had some
Mm-hmm.
during when we first left. On the way up there, she stopped at a liquor store, and all 3 of us were drinking up there. But
You're supposed to be the designated driver, not the designated drunk driver.
I wasn't drunk.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
And how old were you then?
20.
Let me tell you something. There is nothing less feminine, less attractive than a young woman drunk. Nothing. Nothing that I could think of right away, anyway. I'm sure there are things that are less attractive.
Tell me about it.
Of course, it slits up into your navel is pretty unattractive in court. In any event, you were supposed to be the designated driver.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do the right thing. You were certainly older than
I
she was
felt
by
like
a couple
I was
of...
doing the right thing.
No,
I
you
was
weren't.
helping
If you're
her
the
out.
designated driver, madam, you're not supposed to have any alcohol. Designated driver is the person who's not supposed to drink any alcohol.
But I wasn't going to be the designated driver because I have a restricted license. I knew I couldn't drive. I never said to her, yes, I'll be your designated driver. She just kept saying she wanted me to drive.
$2,500. She gave you $600. That leaves $1,900. Now, I want to tell you something. I think that because you own a car at age 18, you have a certain responsibility. And one of the responsible things that you have to do as a car owner is to make sure that the car is not used in an irresponsible way. And the only way you can do that, madam, is if you're not drunk. If you want to drink, take a taxi cab. You used your car. What?
I took the responsible action, and I decided if I'm going to drink, I'm not going to drive. I think that's a responsible decision at my
But
age.
you knew I
There are
couldn't drive.
55-year-olds that go out and drink and still attempt to drive. I knew if I'm going to drink tonight, I'm
But
not
she
going to
knew
drive.
I had a restricted license,
No,
so
I
why
did
did
not
she
know.
put it up on me?
Excuse me, I did not know. If I did, I wouldn't have.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You also gave her $150, is that right, to get the car out of impound?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I'm going to give you credit for that.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Excuse me, that's included in the $600.
No, it's $750.
You gave me 4 payments.
I gave you 4 payments. I paid Carissa $150 for the impound because Carissa paid for the impound. So
Well,
that's a total
I
of
didn't receive that.
$750.
Just a
That's
second, but you had to get your car out of the pound,
Okay,
didn't you?
that's fine.
You had to get your car out of the pound. In total, if I were to find that she was responsible for the entire amount, she would have to give you $1,750. But I find that you were at least partially responsible for going out, getting drunk as a skunk so that you couldn't drive your own car. So I'm going to give you $1,500. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Back row to your right, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
We were all irresponsible, and I figured the only person that was responsible in the matter would be Sylvia. And I don't think she should have went through the drama that she went through.
Don't tell me to shut my mouth.
Shut your mouth.
How long have y'all
Well,
been
you
friends?
don't need to talk about Carissa. She's your friend. Why are you
She's not my
friends for
friend
5 years.
anymore. Declared, we're not friends. How can you dress like that to
Maria,
court?
don't even get crazy with me.
God, you think you're going to a cruise?
Yeah, I was trying to pay you the money, but you're harassing
You want
me.
to talk now, girl? Wait till we get back. Okay, Tiger. That's all I gotta say.
That's
wait
the
till
truth.
we get home.
That's why
Wait
you
till
can't
we
keep a
get
man
home.
for more than a year, for
Wait
more
till
than
we
a
get
week.
home.
19-year-old waitress Misty Sullivan is suing her ex-boyfriend Ron Smith for assaulting her during an argument.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 333 on the calendar in the matter of Sullivan versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir.
Miss Sullivan, your complaint alleges that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
Over a year ago.
Right.
And you're suing him for the hospital bills.
Right.
So I want you to tell me where he assaulted you, how he assaulted you, and why you waited a year to bring this lawsuit.
Ron and I had known each other about 5 months, or we were together for about 5 months. After 3 months, we moved in together. And probably about 2 months after that, Ron and I had an argument in our apartment, and he asked me to leave, and I told him to go to his friend Jesse's house and that I would be gone by the time he got back. It turned into just an argument, and he picked me up and he threw me out the door into the railing. I walked down the stairs and to the Chevron station where I called the police and my dad. The police came and arrested Ron. Ron and I didn't speak for 2 weeks. After that, we got back together, and Ron agreed to help me pay the hospital bill.
Okay, so you got back together again. And how long were you back together again?
Off and on, probably 7 months.
When you say off and on for 7 months, you mean you lived together?
No.
You didn't stay at his house?
No. After that, my cousin and my grandmother, after I left the hospital, had to go to my apartment and move me out because my knee was sprained, and I had 8 stitches in my face and a slight head concussion. And I moved into my Aunt Anna's house at that time.
So you never again stayed at his house?
No.
But you dated?
Yes.
And then what happened?
It just didn't work out. He agreed to pay half of the hospital bill or help me out with the bills. And when we broke up, I had called him and asked him if he was still going to help me, and he told me, good luck. I'm moving in November to go to the wrestling camp. Okay. So that's when I decided to take him to court.
You made an agreement with him, according to you, that you consented to for him to pay for half of the medical bills.
Right, and he had agreed to it.
Okay. And how much were the medical bills?
It's $1,177 now in a collection.
$1,177.
You're right.
That's the whole bill.
Yeah, in collection. The whole bill was $882.
Well, it was $882, and then they built up interest on it.
Right, which is on my name in collection.
Why didn't you pay any part of the bill?
Because I just hadn't done it, and then when I had
I know you hadn't done it, but my question is, why hadn't you done it?
I had just figured that Ron put me in the hospital, then he should have to pay for it. Why should I have to go through that and pay for it, too?
Well, I'm just asking. I understand that. But what I'm questioning you about is, if you agreed with him that he would pay half the bill, why didn't you, since you were going to pay the other half, pay the other half instead of stiffing the hospital completely?
I just didn't do it.
Well, that's not very responsible.
It's not.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress.
Now, you're suing him for a lot more than half of $1,177.
Right.
Why?
I'm suing him $1,200 for the 6 weeks of loss of work.
Why?
Because I missed work because of him.
But you were seeing each other after this incident. I'll get to you in a second.
Yeah, we were.
And even at the time when you separated 7 months later, according to you, you still said to him, what about the half of this hospital bill that you said you were going to pay?
And he didn't want to do it.
So I still don't understand why now you're tacking on a whole lot of other things.
I had changed my mind. I had decided, why should I have to pay for half of it when it wasn't even my fault? He put me in the hospital. He should pay for the whole thing.
Yeah, but you, according to you, had an oral contract with him to pay for half of the bill.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. Now, Mr. Smith, you want to tell me?
And what it was when we were living together, she was purchasing cocaine. And I have 2 kids. I pay my child support. I only get to see one of them. And I didn't want anything to jeopardize my son being able to come and visit me in my home. And something like that would. I asked her to leave. She refused to leave. I didn't pick her up and throw her out the door. She got hit with the door. She stuck her foot in the door. And then I put my hand on her to get her out the door and close the door behind her. I did not physically pick her up and throw her out the door. I went through my anger management classes, and
you pled guilty to the assault.
I pled no contest.
That's the same as guilty?
Yes. I went through my anger management classes, and like she says, you know, I did agree to pay half of the hospital bill. I did. It was all fine and good until just a little while ago. What it is she calls me up, and when she does call me, she's drunk. And all she wants to do is make up. She's pledging undying love and affection. You know, she wants to be, she comes to my work drunk. She calls me up drunk, telling me that she loves me. She just wants to be with me. She's never loved anybody like me before, and blah, blah, blah whatsoever. And when I told her, no, I'm sorry, I'm moving, I'm going to Atlanta, she wanted to come to Atlanta with me. After the incident happened, she quit her job so she could move to Minnesota because she was going to be with her mother. It had nothing to do with me at all. That's why she missed that work. She quit her job.
Okay.
I did not make contact with her after the incident. She made contact with me.
Tell me about this argument. The reason that you say that you pushed her out of the house was because of cocaine.
Yes.
Was she, according to you, selling cocaine?
She was buying it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Since when do I do drugs?
You don't smoke pot?
No, I don't.
You don't
Do you?
get drunk?
Oh,
You called
okay.
the studio drunk off you.
And later today,
He broke the engagement.
By having this affair?
No, he needed time alone. He needed to find himself.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Misty Sullivan says her ex-boyfriend Ron Smith assaulted her during an argument and wants him to pay for her medical bills. Ron doesn't deny he injured Misty, but says they agreed he would pay only half of the bills.
Tell me about this argument.
I tell her, I don't want this in my home. I told her that when she got off the phone. We argued about it. I don't want this in my home. Like I said, my son comes over. So the next day, I go to work and I come home and she's on the phone with one of her ex-boyfriends that she's making this cocaine deal with. And I told her right then and there, don't do it in this house. I don't care if you go down to the payphone down the street. Don't do it in here.
And that precipitated this argument?
Yes, ma'am.
Truth to it?
Yes, it does.
Good. So, that's what the argument... Truth to it?
Yes, it does.
Good. So, that's what the argument was about. Well, that... Say nothing. That doesn't excuse the fact, madam, that he put his hands on you.
No.
That doesn't excuse that. That's saying that he has a right to have you out of his house. If you're that dumb, that you would involve the household in a situation where even for a moment there was going to be a drug transaction taking place even on the phone. That still doesn't excuse her, someone of your size, from giving her a shove outside, and she was clearly injured, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So, somebody's got to pay for that. According to what she says, and according to what you seem to acknowledge, that you had agreed to pay for half of the medical bill. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That was your agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you didn't pay and she didn't pay, so the only one that got stiffed so far is the hospital that provided the service. That doesn't sound fair, right?
Right.
So, you have to pay, sir. You have to pay half, and I'm going to round it off because I like round numbers. $1,177 we're going to take to $1,200, so the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back to your rest.
I think the justice system is the best in the world. Thank you, Judge Judy. I'm sure she'll find something else to give me hell about before I leave. I got like another week or so.
And now the next case.
Parties on Urea versus Snyder. Step forward, please.
21-year-old Christy Urea says she and 24-year-old Christian Snyder were engaged to be married until she caught him cheating. She's suing for credit card bills and wedding expenses.
How old are you?
24.
Young looking. You're lucky.
Thank you.
But not smart. Because according to this complaint, you were engaged to the boss's daughter.
That would be me.
And you had a little tryst with somebody in the office. And then the engagement was over. And she says that you owe her money from all the things that she spent for the wedding and some other credit card bills. And you signed a note. And then she said you didn't pay. Is that what this is about?
Yes, he stopped paying. He had been paying for a
Okay,
while.
so that's pretty much what this is about.
Mm-hmm.
Was he working for your father at the time that you became engaged? Is that how you met him?
No, it's not.
Because this becomes important in this story later. He said he was coerced into signing this note. So who was he working for when you met him?
He was working for an automotive shop somewhere down in Montclair.
As a mechanic?
Yes, I believe so, yeah.
And how long did you know him before he came to work for your father?
Probably a little over a year.
Is that right?
It's about right, yeah.
What kind of business does your father have?
An automotive repair shop.
So it was the same kind of business?
Yes.
And what were you doing for her father? Working as a mechanic?
Yeah, and also helping run the office.
Do you have any brothers?
Yes, I have a brother.
Does he work in the business?
No.
Do you have any other sisters?
I have a sister, yes.
Does she work in the business?
No.
So there you have a business that could grow into a business that's yours. Did that ever occur to you?
Yeah.
And you became engaged when?
March of this year.
And you made certain preparations?
Yes, we did.
Like what?
Well, we reserved the chapel to get married. I have wedding invitations that we had made up. I had a dress. My girls got their dresses.
Stop playing. Look at me. When was this wedding supposed to take place?
August 30th.
And tell me when the engagement was broken.
That's July, beginning of July.
By whom and why?
By him, because he said he needed to find himself, and then I found out he was sleeping with one of the girls from my dad's work.
How did you find that out?
Because his mother called me at midnight and told me, because I guess she'd gone by his mom's house.
The girl had gone by his mom's house? Did you confront him with that?
Yep.
What'd he say?
He tried to talk his way around it, and I went to the girl's house, and his car was there, and he admitted to it. And then he tried to come back to me after that, and then he went back to her, and he played a game for a little while.
Did you tell your father?
Oh, yes.
So you were willing to go through with this wedding, even though you found out that he was fooling around. So
no.
Because you said he broke the engagement.
Yes, he broke the engagement.
By having this affair?
No, well, that's not, that's the reason why, but that's not the reason he gave me.
What was the reason he gave you?
He needed time alone. He needed to find himself.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Same girlfriend that you were meeting with while you were engaged to her?
At the time, there was nothing going on, but...
Just visiting?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Christy Urea called off her wedding when she discovered her fiancé, Christian Snyder, was cheating. She's suing for wedding expenses and credit card bills. Christian says he paid Christy's college tuition, making them even.
So then you signed a note, right?
Yes.
It's right here.
Well, show it to him because that'll make it easier. I don't have to show him the copy that I have. That's the note that you signed, sir?
Yes.
Well, tell me about that, because you say you were coerced into signing the note.
I was told that if I signed it, it could be negotiated later, but I needed to sign it so I could get back to work, and I was afraid of losing my job.
Okay, let's start. You were presented with this note. By whom?
By her father.
In the office?
Yes.
You signed it?
Yes. I was afraid I'd lose my job if I didn't sign it, and I needed to pay child support.
So, you had a choice of either signing the note or going to find another job, right?
Yes, if you put it that way.
Did you honestly believe, sir, that her father was going to keep you on the payroll after he found out that you were fooling around with somebody else in his business?
He told me I could.
I got a bridge I want to sell you. You're 24 years old, and you tell me that you have child support that you have to pay.
Yes.
How many children do you have?
One.
How old?
She's going to be 5.
So you were a teenager when you had this child, right?
Yes.
Were you married to the child's mother?
Yes.
Is that your only marriage?
Yes.
So you signed this note for $3,000. Is that what it was?
$3,200, yes.
And according to you, you paid some of it.
Yes.
And she acknowledges that you paid some of it.
I wrote him a receipt every time he made me a payment.
Made you a payment, but money was also deducted from his check at work.
Yes, and my father wrote him receipts. I have those. That's how they started, and I continued writing them.
Let me see the receipts. Well, the last one was in September, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a balance due of $2,294.
That's correct.
And you're still suing for $3,000.
Yes.
Explain that to me.
I have a proposal I had done. He kicked holes in my wall and attempted
When?
to fix them.
When?
The last month that we were together, when he started acting really bizarre.
Before or after you had him sign this note?
Before.
Forget it. What's next?
The wedding invitations that I had to pay my mother back for.
You had ordered those invitations before this note, correct?
Yes.
Well, look, Miss Urea, we're not going to reinvent the wheel here.
I understand.
You, at a time, memorialized in writing and had him sign, your father had him sign, what he owed you as of a date certain. He, according to you, made certain payments. These are all the payments that she says she has. And do you get a copy of these receipts?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have any question in your mind that the last receipt indicates that the balance due is $2,294?
I believe that's what it was, yes.
Okay.
I don't have any of the stuff she wants me to pay for. I also paid for her school, which I was never reimbursed for. I figured we'd just make it even.
Well, did you have an agreement with her to
A
pay?
verbal agreement she was going to pay me back, yes.
Well, explain that to me.
I gave, because her father would pay for school and she got good grades. So in order to get started, she needed money to go to school, to pay for first semester, and then her father would pick it up from there.
How much did you pay?
I don't exactly know how much it was.
Well, if you... Give me another reason why you don't owe this money. The first one I'm shelving. Give me another reason why you don't owe this money. The first one I'm shelving.
The whole time we were together, I was also helping her on her credit cards and stuff like that. Just from the past year, I have almost $2,500 in canceled checks and stuff to her credit cards.
Sir?
That's not
You both
true.
used her credit cards. You're clutching at straws, Mr. Snyder. You signed a note for $3,200. You're 24 years old. You've been married once, divorced once. You're the father of a child. That's the end of the story. If you had said to me that our father coerced you into signing this note because he took your left ankle and tied it around your right ear, right? And he was torturing you, that's against the law.
Well, you don't know her father. I mean, he has called me threatening me that he's going to come take it from me and stuff like that.
You mean when you didn't pay?
Yeah.
Well, that's a different story. When you didn't pay, I'm talking about when you signed the note. And according to you, you felt coerced into signing this note because you were afraid to lose your job.
Not only that, her father is extremely intimidating.
What do you mean is extremely intimidating, sir?
He just is. He's very
Like me?
hot-tempered.
Huh?
No, actually, he's more intimidating than you are.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, you signed the note, you have an obligation to pay it. It's as simple as that. Not smart to fool around like that, Mr. Snyder. You living with anybody now, sir?
Yes.
Who?
My girlfriend?
Same girlfriend that you were
Yes.
meeting with while you were engaged to her?
At the time, there was nothing going on, but...
Just visiting? Hmm? All right, what's the bottom line here? Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,294. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy,
You came crying back to me because you were so confused, because you're so distraught at the age of 24.
Yeah, who showed up at whose house at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, to
Thank
beat
you.
your little girlfriend up, that's why. He did this to his ex-wife, did this to his other ex-girlfriend, and he owes all kinds of women money. So women everywhere can look at him and know this is the kind of guy he is. He's a man, a real man.
No. Look at how she's acting now. It just kind of shows how she was at home, too.
37-year-old Deborah Sena is suing 39-year-old Debbie McClain. Deborah charges that Ms. McClain failed to honor an agreement to enter her daughter Christina in a beauty pageant. Debbie McClain says there was no arrangement. The money was for a sponsorship.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 237 on the calendar in the matter of Sena versus McClain. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Let me see if I understand this complaint. Miss Sena, you have a young daughter.
Yes, I do.
This is your daughter, Miss McClain.
Yes, ma'am.
Your daughter had been involved in modeling as a younger child. and probably even today. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, Miss Senna, don't look at your papers. Look at me. According to your complaint, you two ladies became acquainted. You were approached by the defendant, asked if you would like to sponsor her daughter in an upcoming beauty pageant. Is that right?
Yes.
And what was the sponsorship cost?
Well, I guess the sponsorship was, I asked her, she said $185.
So that's what it cost to sponsor. And what else did she say to you?
That she would put my daughter in a beauty pageant that she was running, that she was having, and she would be able to get my daughter into another beauty pageant if she was to get into this first one, which was at the Fallbrook Community Center.
So according to you, you had an agreement with her that if you sponsored her daughter at the cost of $185, she would make sure that your daughter would be in a beauty pageant. And that's why you sponsored her.
Yes.
And you say...
And I say, yes, she did sponsor my daughter. My daughter had gone to her, she was babysitting for her at the time, and she sponsored my daughter to be in a beauty pageant. My daughter did go into the beauty pageant. She won the beauty pageant. At about 2 months later, I did tell her I was going to have a preliminary pageant for another state pageant, and that I would in turn let her daughter go into the pageant at no cost. But at the time my daughter had won this one, we didn't even know we were going to have a beauty pageant. At the time I was supposed to have the beauty pageant, I didn't have it. My mother's mother, my grandmother, had died, and I couldn't have the pageant, and I had to go to Kentucky for the funeral, so I didn't.
So there was never another pageant which this lovely little girl in purple could participate?
Deborah Senna had called me quite a few times and said that once she found out I was not going to have the Fallbrook pageant, said that I promised her. I said, I told you your daughter could be at a pageant at no cost, and I told her that I would just put her daughter in the state pageant with no.
So there was some sort of an understanding that her daughter was going to be in a beauty pageant with your assistance.
Not at the time of her sponsorship, but that was not a gift. That was a gift to Casey. It was 2 months later. I told her I would, since she did sponsor Casey, I would put her daughter in a pageant. But that was not a stipulation. That's not true, Your Honor.
I want to know at the time that you. By the way, I assume you have proof of this $185.
Yes,
you have a canceled check?
Yes.
Well, then could you tell me why you're suing her for $300 and some odd dollars?
Well, $185 was for the check, and then $100 for my daughter. And
$100 for your daughter for what?
Just because my daughter talked about this pageant. Her daughter, Casey, came to my house and babysat and had my daughter all pumped up for this pageant. She had my daughter walking with books on her head, getting her ready and telling her what to do for this pageant. She talked about it to her friends. She was heartbroken about this.
So it's for sort of punitive damages that you're asking money for?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you're countersuing her for $2,500 for some nonsense because you say she harassed you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how did she harass you?
When she would call my house repeatedly, sometimes 3-4 times a day. She would swear. The swearing was unbelievable. She came into my place of employment, went to my boss, stated facts that weren't true.
Like what? Were you there?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say?
She said that I was a bitch and I was a whore, and that I had no reasonable reason to be a mother, and that I owed her money, and that Ron, my boss, should get the money from me. And she would call my house.
Does that sound familiar?
No, absolutely not, Your Honor. That is a big lie. That is a big lie.
You?
Your Honor. Well, the things on the phone, she repeatedly called me. She told me I was a whore just like my mother. Called me an F&B. And I've been taught to give adults respect, but I expect respect from them. And it's something me and my mother have not been getting from her.
Did you make those statements to this
young
lady?
No, ma'am, I did not. I called, and Casey told me on the telephone, I cannot talk to you about this.
Are you in a business?
I have a business, Tony's Masonry. It's my husband's business.
When you sponsored someone,
yes,
their name appears on a program or something. Do you have that program?
I never got a program, ma'am.
Do you have it?
I don't have a program. It happened a year and a half ago. We recently moved 5 months ago. But I do have a copy of a normal sponsorship agreement saying that there was no refunds are available.
Just a sec. That's not what I'm asking you. I asked you one thing. I asked you for apples. You gave me mashed potatoes.
I'm sorry.
Okay? What I asked you is, I assume... Put it down. I assume that if your daughter is in the pageant industry, that you keep a scrapbook. And I assume that you keep all the memorabilia from all of her pageants. That only sounds like common sense to me. Put your hand down. I'm really smart. So I assume you have all of the books from your daughter's pageant.
5 months ago, we moved, and I told Casey to get rid of all of that stuff she was collecting.
How many pageants have you been in?
Around 15.
That's not a lot to keep. Especially one that you won. You understand what I mean? Do you understand what I mean? Especially a pageant that you won, you don't get rid of. You keep this, but you keep the crown, but you don't keep the program.
Right.
That doesn't sound logical to me. Why didn't you pay for this $185 yourself?
I didn't even start this process. Casey went to Deborah and asked for a sponsorship.
Did you initially have the conversation with her?
Yes, I did.
When?
One time I was babysitting for her daughter.
And what did you say to her?
I said, Debbie, I'm entering a beauty pageant, and if I would like to be in it, I have to pay for it myself or figure out a sponsorship to go into the pageant. So I asked Debbie, since I was babysitting her daughter, if she would sponsor me. And not at that time, I said that she could be in a beauty pageant.
And what did she say?
She said she'd love to. And it was out of her business, too.
She said she would love to.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I really wish Debbie Sinha would shut up.
You know what? That's respect.
Well, you don't give me respect, Debbie.
You don't deserve it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 37-year-old Deborah Sena is suing 39-year-old Debbie McClain over a beauty pageant which her daughter Christina was to enter. Debbie McClain says she was paying for her daughter Casey's sponsorship, not for Deborah's daughter Christina to be in another pageant.
So when did she have a conversation with your mother?
I believe she had a conversation with my mother on the phone, seeing if it was fine, see if I asked Debbie. And then we went to her house to pick up the check.
Together?
Yes.
Does that sound right to you?
Your Honor?
Miss Sena, look at me.
Does not.
She did not speak to you first
No, she did
about
not.
it?
No, she did not. I spoke to her mother on the telephone. We were talking about sponsoring. One was contingent to the other.
No, that's not what I asked you, Miss Sena.
And, I'm sorry.
This young lady says that she asked you first to be her sponsor.
No, she did not. Her mother and I spoke about it on the telephone, while I talked to her mother about having her daughter babysit for me. That's how that happened.
Okay, we don't have to take very long with this. Giving your story the best possible scenario. Okay, your story. You agreed to sponsor her, and she agreed that in the future, sometime in the future, your daughter was going to be in a pageant that she was going to run.
No, ma'am.
No, yes, that's exactly what happened. It wasn't the same pageant, it was a second pageant.
It was the Fallbrook pageant.
It was another pageant that never took place. Is that correct?
Right.
All right. So the other pageant never took place, and therefore she could not fulfill that part of even assuming your agreement unless you can establish to my satisfaction that it was owing to her fault and her fault alone, her negligence, that second pageant didn't take place. You're at $185.
If
you sponsored her daughter. Now, I'm not 100% satisfied that both of these young ladies telling me the truth. And that includes you. You understand me?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Because as sweet and as adorable as you look, I think you're a pretty good actress. That's because I have daughters.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So I know daughters can be pretty good actresses. But Miss Sena, I know your daughter is disappointed. I know she's unhappy, but you didn't have a writing with this lady that one was contingent on the other.
I have a witness that heard her say this in my house when I presented the check to her.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I do, ma'am. She's
I'd
right
like
here.
to hear the witness.
My friend's name is Maria.
Maria, you step up here. Now, Maria what?
She came over to...
No, Maria what? Your
Maria
last name.
Cazares. Cazares? Your Honor, she came to Deborah's house, and we had just gotten there, and...
Who's we?
Me and Deborah. And she came over, and her daughter came in the house, and she says her daughter and Christina went outside to look at the pool, and she said, Deborah gave her the check, and Debbie said, okay, and this is for, you're sponsoring my daughter, and in return, I will put Christina in the Fallbrook pageant.
Are you telling me that she said, in return, are those the words, listen to me, are those specifically the words that you remember as you stand here under oath? You remember her saying to you, and in return, I will put your daughter?
Yes,
Maria.
I do, Your Honor.
What makes you remember that so vividly, madam?
Because it was a big thing with Christina. She was telling everybody. She was,
I didn't ask you why it was important to the child. I asked you, what makes it so clear in your mind that you can stand here today under oath and you tell me that you specifically remember her using the words, in return for?
Because I remember her saying that.
And how long ago was this?
In May.
Mm-hmm. Of this year?
Yep. Not this year, 96.
I'm not sure whether I believe that. In any event, I think that this is a sad situation. Did you write a business check for this $185?
Yes, I did, ma'am. Your Honor?
Yeah.
May I say something, please?
Sure.
When Deborah came into my home and Maria heard her, Deborah the kids were in the backyard, and she came in the house, and she took my check so fast, and she did say she's going to, in return, put my daughter into her beauty pageant.
Yep, she didn't have a beauty pageant.
And she took out.
Just
Yes,
a
she
second.
didn't.
She didn't have one. Did she have a beauty pageant that she didn't put your daughter in?
No, but that's why I did the sponsoring.
No, but just a second. Did she have a beauty pageant that she didn't put your daughter in?
No. And that's why I did it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Her daughter is one of the biggest brats I've ever known in my life. She's a brat. Look at you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 37-year-old Deborah Sena is suing 39-year-old Debbie McClain. Deborah charges that Ms. McClain failed to honor an agreement to enter her daughter Christina in a beauty pageant. Debbie McClain says there was no arrangement. The money was for a sponsorship.
Did she have a beauty pageant that she didn't put your daughter in?
No. And I really feel really taken, and I'm sorry that it had to be this way, because I just wouldn't be here if I didn't feel that I was, I wouldn't be...
Taken?
Right.
You think that Miss Sena feels as if she was taken? Miss McClain?
I believe she feels like she was taken.
Okay. Now, she feels as if she was taken because she was led to believe by you, led to believe that her little girl was going to have an opportunity to be in a beauty pageant. That's correct?
That's
Is that
what
correct?
she believes, yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? Okay. And you did not fulfill that part of the agreement because you say your grandmother died.
It wasn't a part of the agreement at the time of the sponsorship.
Let us assume she believed that based upon everything, that was why she was giving you $185.
That's what she believes, yes, ma'am.
Right. Now, you say you led some credence to that because you, in your answer, say, well, the other pageant didn't take place because I had some personal problems.
I said she could be in it at no cost 2 months later. Yes, ma'am.
At no cost because you were arranging it.
Yes, ma'am.
But then you didn't arrange it.
I was unable to fulfill my obligation having the pageant, and it did upset quite a few young ladies, and it upset me that I couldn't have it.
Good.
But I did have a
But
death
none
in
of
the
those
family.
other ladies that it upset had given you $185.
Had given my daughter, yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you can understand why she's upset.
Yes, ma'am, I
And you
can.
can understand why her little girl is upset.
Yes, ma'am, I can.
All right? All right. Miss Sania, I'm not exactly sure that I'm getting the truth, the 100% truth from you or from you. I know what you thought. And I know you thought that you got taken, because I don't think otherwise you would have sponsored, you would have given her a check for $185. How much did you used to pay her for babysitting?
I paid her $350, and I always paid Casey really good because my daughter always liked her. And I really do feel taken.
Why didn't you save the money from babysitting for sponsor money?
Because I used all the extra, like all my babysitting money as what a regular teenager would do.
Well, why didn't you save it for your sponsorship?
Because when I was babysitting her, I really didn't think I was going to be in this beauty pageant. It was at the last minute thing.
Oh, why was it at the last minute?
Because I didn't get the entry form until late.
So that you didn't have any money?
Right, for myself.
So, and you wanted to do it very badly?
Yes, I did.
Now, sort of, now the common sense part is coming together, so that you went to her immediately.
Right.
This lady immediately.
Right.
All right. Very good. I understand.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right, Miss Sania, I do believe that you are entitled to $185 from these people. I don't believe you're entitled to any more. I don't believe you're entitled to compensation for your daughter's pain and suffering or anything else. And I am dismissing your counterclaim for $2,500. So, I'm going to tell you one other thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Telling the truth is very important.
Yes, ma'am, I know.
Some people have a special gift. They may be very dumb at certain things, but some people can tell when somebody is lying to them. It's one thing when older people lie. Sometimes I think that it's reasonable. It certainly sets a bad example. It certainly sets a bad example.
She is not lying, Your Honor.
Well, I'm not so sure.
Well, I'm not sure.
I'm not so sure that the agreement that you two ladies made with your daughter, either present or outside the room, gave this lady the distinct impression that if she was going to shell over $185, it was with the understanding and assurance that it's a future date and a future pageant. Her little girl was going to have the same opportunity to go around and prance around on stage and be in a pageant. And that's why you showed her how to walk, showed her how to move, showed her how to do all those things. That's what the inducement was. That was the inducement.
But it was not a contingency. At the time when she sponsored my daughter, I did not even know I was going to have a beauty pageant.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $185. That's all.
All right, excused. You may step out.
That's not.
Let's get out of here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You're looking now at the real Debbie.
What's wrong with
her
me?
attitude.
I'm happy, Debbie. I'm really happy. You are sad. You called me names. What's the difference?
You called me an effing hoe?
What?
You called my mother
When?
an effing hoe?
When?
You called my mom a
Look
bitch?
at you. Look, when did I call you that?
You called
Why would I? You know what, Casey? Grow up, okay?
Journalist Donald Iarussi says Kenny Kramer, the inspiration for Seinfeld's Kramer, did not pay him for working on his Kramer for Mayor campaign. Kramer says no one was paid.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 456 on the calendar in the matter of Iarussi versus Kramer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
Well, this is a rather interesting complaint. Mr. Iarussi, according to your complaint, you became involved with the defendant's campaign when he decided to run for mayor of New York City. And I gather from your papers and from his response that he decided to run for mayor because he had developed a certain celebrity, because the character of Kramer from that wonderful Seinfeld program was fashioned after him. Is that right, sir?
This is a fact, Your Honor.
You're much better looking.
Thank you.
So you became involved with this fiasco because
Your Honor.
even I'm sure Mr. Kramer over here knew that it was a fiasco.
I don't think so, Your Honor.
Well,
That was a serious intent at the time I began this campaign.
Mr. Kramer, New York City is an interesting place, and I've lived in New York most of my adult life. And having seen you, sir, and having watched your character for many, many years, I will tell you that you're an interesting character, but I wouldn't let you run a city. We've had that already in New York. So, you became involved in this fiasco
Yes, Your Honor.
that I assume you believe you're an intelligent human being,
I believe so, most of the time.
and you are a New Yorker.
Yeah, a New Yorker.
So, as a New Yorker, you're supposed to have a certain amount of common sense, know where it's at, know what's real, know what's not real, know when it's raining, know when it's somebody else is doing something on your leg. You're supposed to know all those things, right?
Well, I did live
So
in
you
Texas
beca-
for 8 years.
So you became involved with this thing sort of
Yes.
on a lark.
Something like that.
Sure. And so you're suing him because you say that he promised to pay you 50 cents a piece for the signatures that you got on a petition.
And I did a great job.
Just a second.
Okay.
50 cents a piece for the signatures that you got on petitions so that he could get his name on the ballot. Because you
Yes.
needed how many signatures, sir?
7,500.
How many did you get?
We got over 7,500.
Did you pay anybody else for getting signatures?
No, Your Honor.
Then you decided, enough of this foolishness, and I'm throwing in the towel.
It became a lot of work.
Yeah. What kind of work do you usually do?
I run a reality tour, a Kramer's reality tour, my show for Seinfeld fans. It's a multimedia romp through the world of Seinfeld, and I have a stage show based on it. And so basically I travel around the country, and I run this tour in New York City every weekend. And that's what I've been doing for a livelihood.
Well, what are you going to do when Seinfeld goes off the air? You're going to have to get a real job, Mr. Kramer.
I doubt it very much because, you know, there's only 39 Honeymooner episodes, and that's still here. So Seinfeld will finish with 177. It's part of the world's cultural landscape.
Mr. Kramer, what did you do before Jerry Seinfeld made you an icon?
I, you know, managed to live through my own entrepreneurial ways. I did stand-up comedy for a number of years. I invented electronic jewelry. I managed a rock reggae band. I had everything to avoid actual work, I might add. You know.
I'm glad you added that. Tell me how he promised to pay you.
Well, let's go back a little and how we actually met at a conference sometime in 1997, and I was putting together some articles, and I had wanted to do an article on Kramer for some Far Eastern magazines. So anyway, Kramer, I went on the reality tour, and I have to admit it's a great tour, and I enjoyed it and had a lot of fun. And so right after that, I started putting some articles together on Kramer, and on April 22nd, I had gotten a letter inviting me to share a moment of history with the real Kramer at 6 p.m. at the Cafe St. Francis. So I went there, and Kramer had about 5 or 10 people there, and they talked about his intention to run for mayor, and people got picked for various positions to basically run the campaign. My duties were to get people to volunteer for the campaign and anything I can do along that line, and also go out and get signatures myself.
And you got enough nutty New Yorkers who came
I got a
up.
lot of signatures. I think I'm the
right.
best there is in signatures getting, and Kramer will attest to that.
You got a lot. You said you got a lot of signatures, a lot of good-looking women, a lot of signatures you couldn't use because they weren't citizens, but they were good-looking.
So anyway, there was a time in the campaign where I was putting in a lot of time, so I had talked to the treasurer about not being able to do this because it was too time-consuming and needed to work something out. And he says, well, let me throw some money your way, and we'll have some money coming in, and I could offer what's a standard rate for signatures, and it's pretty much 50 cents a signature in New York if you do that. Go out and get signatures. So I agreed to that with him, and went going.
Where is he?
He couldn't be here today, Your Honor.
Well, you didn't bring him here. You can't tell me what he said to you. You can't tell me that he agreed.
I couldn't get in touch with him.
Well, that's not my problem, sir. That's your problem.
So anyway...
Tell me what conversations you had with the defendant.
So Kenny and I had some conversations after that, and after the campaign was over, Kenny decided to back out of the campaign and not go any further. We both had other work and went different ways, and Kenny started traveling a little, and he was really out of pocket. And I had some things coming up where I figured, well, then if there isn't money in the campaign or I'm not able to get in touch with his campaign treasurer, maybe he could do some appearances for me. And he agreed he would do an appearance for fundraising. And that was the last.
Fundraising for what?
Oh, I do a lot of work with nonprofit organizations, and I've won awards for my rape awareness public service announcements about for rape crisis centers.
So
I put together 30-second PSAs.
He would do an appearance for you.
Right. So he said he would do an appearance for me, and then
Did he do that? Did he do an appearance for you?
No, he did not. Okay. But he was also very busy, and I did keep trying to reach him, and there was never an anger about this. It's just that I kept trying
so when did you get angry, Mr. Irizarry?
Well, I never got angry. I think he's a wonderful person and a good human being. I just think he owes me the money.
Well, just a second. Well, when did you decide that you wanted the money?
About a month ago.
About a month ago?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was an intern on the Kramer for Mayor campaign, and I just want to say that at no time did Kramer act improperly towards me at all.
And later today...
I don't find, sir, that part of your lawsuit is legitimate for this court. Do you understand? That is all I'm entertaining, sir. Do you understand? Period. End of discussion. I'm telling you what it is. If you wish to leave, you can leave.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Iarussi wants former mayoral candidate Kenny Kramer to pay him for working on his campaign. Kramer says no one was paid.
I have a couple of questions for you. Did you ever have a direct conversation with Mr. Kramer wherein Mr. Kramer said that he was going to pay you for working on his campaign?
No, I did not. I did not.
So, is there any other person here that you had a direct conversation with who was attached to his campaign?
Well, I talked to John Seminary. Shh. Yes.
You didn't hear my question.
Go ahead.
Is there another person here who was attached to his campaign who you had a conversation with about payment of 50 cents each for the signatures that you gathered?
Yes.
And who was that?
John Seminario.
Where is he?
He's seated to the left of Kramer.
Step up here, sir.
I was Kenny's campaign manager from the whole time before that meeting began. We had hoped the campaign would be a little more successful. What we had thought would be we had hats and pins and bumper stickers and T-shirts made, and we hoped that those funds would be able to kick off the campaign as far as the fundraising goes. And that never materialized. We had felt that the mayor
People in New York aren't that stupid.
Well, no, we had felt that the mayor...
Could you answer my question for me? I mean, this is not a catharsis for you, sir.
No, it's not.
Did you ever, as campaign manager?
No.
How come you always anticipate it? I feel like Johnny Carson and Karnak. They answer my question before I ask the question. Listen to me. Did you ever tell the plaintiff that he was going to be paid for gathering signatures?
Yes, we had spoken. And
about what?
About some money for out-of-pocket expenses because people were traveling on the subway by themselves.
Right.
There were times, and I know there was a rainstorm, and I was caught with a bunch of people, and I went for a few rounds, So
there were. What does that mean, a few rounds?
Well, I paid for a few beers and some drinks for people.
Oh.
So,
Mr. Iarussi, I gather you had a conversation with him wherein it was discussed that you had certain expenses and what were you going to do about it, if anything. And he said, we'll try to take care of some of your expenses, and if we can't, we'll try to work out some other way to make you happy. Is that about it?
Yeah, that's about it.
How does that translate into 50 cents a signature?
No, that translated into a money amount where we also talked about a personal appearance where I would do.
Just a second. Was there any time frame with regard to this personal appearance?
I emailed Kramer on July 10th, and he responded saying, let me know the date and time.
So did you tell him? Did you give him a date and time?
I did, but he was, well, no.
Just a second.
No, not a definite one because he was out of town.
So did you give him a date when you wanted him to appear and give him sufficient time so that he wasn't doing all this traveling so he could appear for you? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
And when was that?
July 10th, 1997.
Do you remember receiving that email?
I may have, Your Honor, but as Mr. Ruzzi said, I had been traveling a great deal. But, you know, one thing I'd like to make clear now, the dispute that he claims is about these signatures. But I'd like to just enter into evidence, if I may, some of these sheets of signatures.
Listen to me. You don't have to bother, because I find that there was no agreement with regard to payment for signatures.
Well, even if there was, the signatures are totally invalid. There are 15 signatures on our page. Every one of them is women. He's just
What's
signed...
wrong with women?
Well, and many of them from illegible. You can't read signatures. You can't, you know, so the point is, if you're paying for signatures, it should be a valid signature.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Mr. Colford, you're supposed to file a lawsuit because it's a legitimate lawsuit, not because you're using it as a sort of Damocles that you're holding over somebody's head.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Donald Iarussi wants former mayoral candidate Kenny Kramer to pay him for working on his campaign. Kramer says no one was paid.
Mr. Kramer, I haven't heard any testimony that is in any way persuasive that there was a contract, an employment contract, even if it was as an independent contractor, for him to be paid for those signatures. What I have heard is, and what I tend to believe, is that he was supposed to be in some way compensated for all the hard work that he did. There was never a fixed amount, but that you did, in fact, assure him that you would make a personal appearance for him at one of his fundraisers. Now, isn't that true?
That is true, Your Honor.
And all I'm trying to find out is whether you welched on that agreement.
And I'm available to make a personal appearance at at any time and date that I'm available for.
Well, then this is perfect. We have a fine resolution to this case. Sir, I find that there was no contractual arrangement between you and the defendant to pay you for the signatures. However, I do find that he did agree, either through himself or through his manager, to compensate you for some out-of-pocket expenses, and you agreed to take the services of Mr. Kramer in compensation or in lieu of the dollar amount, and Mr. Kramer has indicated that he is prepared to follow through with that. So it's been a pleasure meeting you. I wish you continued success. Your case is dismissed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Look, I just want to say here and now that I was an intern on the Kramer for Mayor campaign, and I just want to say that at no time did Kramer act improperly towards me at all. Okay, I just want to make that very clear, because we are in a sort of a semi-legal, semi-media setting. I just want to make that clear. No soiled clothing of any kind, nothing.
And now the next case.
All parties on Kofod versus D'Amato. Step forward, please.
39-year-old medical salesman John Kofed is suing his on-again, off-again lover of 5 years, Gwen D'Amato.
Well, I've tried to make heads and tails out of these papers. A brief statement of the facts in these cases are what's usually asked for. You folks wrote a novella with regard to your complaint and your answer. But I gather from these papers that you were in a long personal and business relationship with each other, neither of which worked out.
Correct.
And, sir, you allege that during that time you advanced vast sums of money to the defendant, which are not the subject of this lawsuit. You understand that? Because you say that she owes you some $25,000. That's not the jurisdiction of this court.
I understand that, Your Honor.
So that what you are asking for is the personal property that you left behind when she told you to leave.
Well, actually, Your Honor, I'm asking for up to $5,000, which is within this jurisdiction of this court. I've given you documentation showing over $20,000 that I advanced on behalf of the defendant based on...
Well, sir, let me ask you this question. Why, if you have documentation to show that she owes you $25,000, why would you settle for $5,000?
Well, Your Honor, the defendant has no assets left in her name whatsoever. She's got somebody that's taking care of her, who has bought her a vehicle, who's buying her a home, who's given her thousands of dollars of cash. I have absolutely no chance of recovering anything from this woman if I have a judgment against her anyway. So
then, sir, now what we're going to talk about is the personal property that you left behind. Do you understand? You just told me that if you get a judgment against her, it's an empty judgment. Right? Is that right?
Not exactly, Your Honor.
Well, that's what you just told me, sir.
I did tell you that, Your Honor. The reason that I filed this case to begin with is because I'm continually harassed by the defendant. I had a temporary restraint.
Just a second. Just a second.
I had the defendant place a temporary restraining order against me without supporting facts, which was thrown out in court by a judge on June the 20th. At that time, I served her with a small claims case so that I had something legally against her that I could always hold in my hands in case she tried to do something again against me.
Mr. Kofod, what you've just told me is you're abusing the court system. When you file a lawsuit, you're supposed to file a lawsuit because it's a legitimate lawsuit, not because you're using it as a sort of Damocles that you're holding over somebody's head. If you have a problem with her with regard to filing false complaints against you, then there is a cause of action that you can file against her. What I'm telling you now, sir, is the only thing that I'm dealing with in this case is the property that you say that you left behind, which you say totals, so I've read these papers, even though they kept me up half the night trying to figure them out, $1,025. And since you say she doesn't have any money, we're going to talk about the property. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand?
I understand, Your
Good.
Honor, but
I want you to
am I not within my rights, Your Honor, to sue her for what she has borrowed from me and not paid back, and for property that I paid for?
I don't find, sir, that that part of your lawsuit is legitimate for this court. Do you understand?
I understand, Your
Fine.
Honor, but...
Take that to civil court where the jurisdiction is beyond the $5,000 jurisdiction of this court. That is all I'm entertaining, sir. Do you understand? Period. End of discussion. I'm telling you what it is. If you wish to leave, you can leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm talking about a Toshiba microwave, a Panasonic 2-line business speaker phone, Sears Kenmore vacuum cleaner, heavy duty, miscellaneous dishes, Tupperware, clothes, and appliances. Total value of plaintiff's property in defendant's possession, $1,025. That is what I'm hearing today. Do you understand that?
Your Honor, I can't afford to take her to civil court and hire an attorney to do
Fine, then
that.
let's deal with the property that's here.
But my case was for the money that she took from me also.
Mr. Kofod, do you want me to consider the items here that you outline that she has in her possession that belong to you? Do you want me to consider those items?
What I would like you to consider, Your Honor, is exactly what I wrote down, was money and property taken.
This case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Gwen is a drama queen. Gwen lies about everything. Gwen has got serious problems. She absolutely is a gold digger. Absolutely, without question, a gold digger.
He's bitter. He needs to move on and get on with his life. He needs to leave me alone.
I like them as a couple. They were great friends of ours, and, you know, Gwen was a friend of mine, and unfortunately I can't look at her the same way.
I fell in love with that woman, and I believed in what she told me.
With Foster Reader. Now she's suing Foster's son, Dustin, for bills he ran up on her Sears credit card.
Order. All rise. All rise, please. Quiet in the courtroom. Judge, this is number 132 on the calendar in the matter of Trevino versus Reader. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Trevino. Mr. Reader.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Reader Sr. Step up here. Ms. Trevino, according to your complaint, you and Mr. Reader Sr. were living together, correct?
No.
He wasn't living with you?
He stayed with me for a month.
Stayed with you? I paid the rent.
Just a second. He stayed with you for a month. This is his son?
Yes, ma'am.
He also stayed with you?
Yes, ma'am.
And while they were staying with you, you let Junior use your Sears credit card.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Well, we were good friends, and he was just starting a job, and there was stuff that he needed, like tool chests and stuff, and he promised to pay me back when he started working and started getting an income, and I trusted him. He's a nice kid. But now that Senior and I are no longer seeing each other, he doesn't want to pay me.
Why didn't you ask your father for money?
Because I like Sears tools.
Because what?
I like the tools that Sears put out.
So?
She had a Sears charge card.
Go ahead, sir. Maybe you can answer for him.
Actually, what happened, Your Honor, when we got together, and we were there a lot longer than any 2 months.
Well, first it was a month. Now you say it was longer than 2 months.
It was a lot longer. The relationship went on for about a year and a half. Mrs. Trevino's credit card was not being able to be used at the time, and I paid it up, brought it current. The Sears credit card, I paid up the Sears credit card where it could be used. I paid up her Visa credit card, which they never let her use it. Okay, at that time, my son could have asked me for the money, but I didn't even know they were going out and buying the tools. She took him to Sears and started on her own while we were still together. And as we were living together for quite some time, over a month, things went on between them. He could have gotten the money from me if he'd have asked me for it.
Well, that's what I want to know. Why didn't you ask your father to borrow the money for your tools rather than asking Miss Trevino?
Because she had a charge card for there.
But he had the money.
I never came up to ask him for that, Your Honor.
All right, so now you use the credit card. How much did you charge on her credit card?
About $1,100, Your Honor, or so.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did you pay back?
$1,108.45.
You have proof of that for me?
Your Honor, what I have is my check register.
And what does it say in it?
That I have made payments. I have 9 checks totaling the amount of $508.45.
Is that made directly to Sears?
Sears and Mrs. Trevino.
Let me see it. Do you deny that he gave you these checks, madam? He's got them in his book.
He gave me checks for the rent when he was living there.
Some of this, how much rent?
He was paying $200 a month.
There are charges here for $32.45, $38, $75, $63.
For what?
I don't know. It says to Sandra Trevino. Let me see your Sears bill, please. Was she charging you rent?
I paid her rent on my own will, and I never wrote her a check for rent. I just given her cash.
What do you mean you gave it of your own will, sir?
I was told I didn't have to pay rent, but I paid her anyway.
That's not true.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I was the one paying the rent at the time.
That's not true.
Out of my own money. That's why he didn't have to pay rent.
He said he was giving her cash.
He did give her money, but like I said, it was because he wanted to.
So you say, sir, that you repaid her $508 by check, and this is for the tools that you bought on the Sears card. Is that right?
Yes.
But you also say you paid her cash.
Yes.
Twice.
Yes.
How are you going to prove that to me?
What? Ma'am, I have no... we were friends at the time. I didn't think I needed a receipt for that.
Well, but you paid most of the money by check. Why would you pay $600 of it in cash?
Well, because I would go cash my check, and I'd just give her the cash instead of the check.
Why did you give her some checks? All of them were under $100. And then what you opted to give her in cash, you gave her in $200, $300 payments. That doesn't sound logical to me, sir.
Well, at the time, I had the cash on me. And the only reason why I didn't get a receipt was because I was living with her. She was seeing my father.
Did he ever give you cash?
No, ma'am.
He did not?
No, ma'am.
Okay, return this to him. Yes.
He did give her cash, Your Honor.
No,
and I've given her a lot of cash even since then.
No, I believe
A couple of times I didn't ask for receipts. Then at the very last, she started writing me receipts. I didn't bring them with me, but she did write me some receipts.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car.
This is getting fascinating.
And later today,
I did see a cat, and I saw them, running after the cat, and I did see a cat.
I'm not sure I believe that you saw a cat.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sandra Trevino says 26-year-old tow truck operator Dustin Reeder used her credit card and didn't repay her. Dustin says he paid her back in cash.
Ms. Trevino, why are you suing him now?
Because they were going through some bad times, and he didn't have any money. He went to jail for a couple months. The kids were trying to run the business, and they weren't making ends meet. And I was actually helping them keep the business going while he was. And I
what
thought
kind of business?
Towing business.
Automobile towing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you incarcerated for a period of time, sir?
Yes, I was.
For how long?
I was actually in jail for 45 days.
For what?
Because she had stole her car and I got blamed for it.
You're a lying sack.
That's right. She stole her car out of a shopping center before Christmas, and I got blamed for the car, and I didn't involve her in it. I took the heat because my lawyer advised me to take the heat, so I took it.
Explain. No, this is getting fascinating. This is much.
Hey, it's the truth. You can check it out with the courts.
Well, you can't check it out with the courts. If you pled guilty, sir, and served 45 days, then you pled guilty to something. Explain to me, she stole a car.
That's right.
Out of a parking lot.
That's right.
How did you get involved with it?
Well, when I first met Mrs. Trevino,
He tried selling it to cop.
She didn't have a car. She had problems with her car. I gave her the money to go out and put a down payment on a new car. When we started squabbling, she couldn't make the payments. So then she decided, it was insured, she decided that she would take it and collect the insurance off of it, which she did.
You're a pathological liar.
What are you, just a second.
The car.
Pathological.
You didn't collect insurance?
Ms. Trevino, go ahead.
The car.
So she reported the car stolen.
That's right.
Ah, it's coming together. She reported the car stolen, and then the plan was for her to go out and sell the car once she got the insurance money for it. Is that right? Am I right?
You're close.
Well, tell me where I'm off. Tell me where I'm off.
Anyway, as it turned out, I got caught with the car
How did you get caught with the car?
because somebody had did some work on it, brought it back,
You mean did some work on it to sort of
changed the VIN
change
numbers.
the VIN numbers?
Changed the VIN numbers. Brought it back. I got caught with it. Okay? And like I said, at that time, I never brought it up. I never one time said anything about it to the law or anything. I just went to jail for it.
Well, you knew that there
And
was you
believe me,
knew the
believe me, I wish
scenario,
I
so you
hadn't.
weren't blameless, sir, right?
I was partly to blame because I got caught with it.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I drive a tow truck.
Your father's tow truck?
Yes.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. These tools that you bought from Sears, what did you need them for?
I like to work on cars.
Sounds to me, with the exception of this young man, these people all deserve each other. Well, I'm going to give you credit, sir, for the following. I believe that you gave her checks towards the Sears bill of $1,100 in the amount of $500, leaving a total of $600 left. Now, I want you to look in my eyes and tell me whether you gave her an additional $600 in cash.
Yes, ma'am, I did. In 2 installments.
Hmm?
I have given her $600 in cash for the tool bill.
For the tools.
Yes, on the
You
Sears
gave her
charge.
extra money for rent
Yes, I was paying her $200 a month for rent.
in addition to the tools. Is that right?
Yes, every month I stayed there, I gave her $200 a month.
Ms. Trevino, I believe him. This young man, I believe. I don't know if I believe either of you two people, but I believe him that he paid you. This lawsuit is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Pathological liars. They're known liars. That's all they do is lie.
And now the next case.
Party's on Brown versus Silberg. Step forward.
32-year-old retail manager Paul Brown is suing his building manager, Greg Silberg, 52, because his dog fell off the roof when a cat frightened it.
Mr. Silberg, are you the owner of this building in question?
No,
or are
I'm
you
the owner of the management company.
Okay. And this is a 3-story building.
Correct.
You, sir, live in that building?
Yes.
And how long have you lived there?
I lived there approximately about 9 months.
And you have a dog?
Yes.
That dog?
I have 2 dogs.
But that's the dog in question?
Correct.
You were going into your building?
Actually, I was going to walk my dog on the, and I was going to visit a friend on the 3rd floor. And
In the building?
In the building.
And your dog did not have a leash on?
They both had leashes on them. I took them in the elevator, walked up to the 3rd floor. I went to knock on my friend's door on the 3rd floor, which is right around the corner from the sun deck. And I had both dogs in one hand, on my left hand, and they saw a cat. This is late at night, about 10:30 at night. They saw a cat. They got loose. As I was running up the stairs, the dogs already were up on the patio.
सर कैमरा क्यों ऑन कर लिया आपने सर आपको क्या क्वेश्चन कर रहा था आपको उसमें भी दिक्कत हुई आप क्वेश्चन लीजिए सर
Do it, solve this.
Okay. और संभल के साथ मधुमक्खी घूम रही है यहाँ पे मुझे मजे ले रहा है सर मेरे सर पे निकला इसलिए मैं मम्मी से कहूँगा चाहिए मैं से कहूँगा जो आप मेरे जानबूझ के वो बना रहे मैं ताकि मेरे सर पे लगी है इसलिए आप मेरा मजा घूमना पाए मैं आपकी मम्मी जी से कहूँगा यहाँ 2 होगा सर
2 नहीं है बेटा देखिए इसमें क्या लिख रहे हैं 3 है 51 x y स्क्वायर z स्क्वायर
नहीं सर स्कूल में 2 लिखा था क्या हो गया सर
ठंड लग रही है
सर क्वेश्चन क्या है कौन सा क्वेश्चन है
34x क्यूब y क्यूब z क्यूब डिवाइड बाई 51
अच्छा हाँ तो 51 और 34 मतलब एक टेबल बताएंगे नहीं
डिवाइड दे के देख लो
नहीं आएंगे सर एक टेबल में एक टेबल में आते नहीं सर
देखो चेक कराते हैं
यार वो क्यों दे रहे सर क्वेश्चन आइए
Next question. लो बेटा ई
वाओ
माय
सर
गॉड
सर वो तो एक रेड पेन है लेके आ जाओ
नो नो थैंक्स
सर ये रख देना लेफ्ट साइड में सर क्या कर रहे हो सर आप ये